Man, oh man. Welcome to your Ass Hurts News Network. This is your host, Sergeant Friday. We've had many technical disadvantages and technical issues. And I've been trying to work on it with my technical department. But as some of you may know, and others of you do not know, in order to keep the costs of the show reasonable, I've employed third world tech department, and even though they work hard, they are not unable to make error, and so I'm going to have to lay the blame at the feet of my technical department. Let me just show you who my technical department is. They're doing their best. They're trying to reinvigorate the show. They're trying to huff and puff and get that show rolling again. And there's my third world technical assistant. We don't know what his name is. He's got a guy that helps him, and he actually invented the toilet seat dining room table, which was revolutionary in its day. And I don't know if that made him enough money not to be a third world technical assistant, but I'm going to have to continue to look at. That's one of those things where I can honestly say, more to be disclosed, more to be discovered. So we're going to have to wait to see how all that works out there. And anyway, so the show tonight is the show. It's the greatest show. Wait, hold on. We have breaking news. Breaking fucking news. This is like, something's going on. Breaking news. Cletus has joined the show. Cletus, good evening.
Sergeant.
Cletus.
Your ass hurts.
Right. Your Ass Hurts News Network welcomes Cletus. The what is he, a co-host or a co-conspirator? He's something over there.
I'm something.
People, and Clue was I was on the phone with them, just so you know. I was on the phone just discussing some things that can't be said out loud. And, the closest I could get to it would be farting, but that wouldn't really tell you what the conversation was about. Latest.
What?
Oh, my goodness. So I put China up there in the title there, Cletus.
Yeah, that's what drew me in.
It's
like fucking Disney World.
It's like fucking Disney World. Like you were saying earlier today, China created an artificial sun under the ground. China's got the longest time for a fusion reaction. China is surpassing the United States in ways that would make an honest American, you would have tears in your eyes if you realized the leaps and bounds that China has made, not just militarily, not just scientifically, not just economically, but every way you can compare.
Yeah,
China is surpassing us.
The shit that they can do that's publicly known far surpasses shit we can do. And that's just what's known publicly. So imagine the shit that's not known publicly that they can do that far surpasses what we can do. Like, it's fucking crazy.
And everything that they're capable of doing was because our technology was either stolen by them or our corporations have brought it over there with them so they don't have to deal with any regulations and pay the American wage. The same corporations that steal all your private information and market it to anybody they can market it to. Though, your friends.
Or we set up some bullshit fucking research fund and invested in a laboratory over there to make it for us.
It's fucking incredible the way things are rolling in the world. And thank God orange hair is back because, he's swinging the bat. He's definitely hitting balls. Oh, we had another technical error. I might have to move our tech support out of the third world, Cletus.
I think you are.
It sorrows me.
I think you yourself are a technical error, Sarge.
You think I could be third world too?
You may be.
I don't constantly live in the world that we exist in. I'm always somewhere else in my head.
You are one of these strange motherfuckers that prefer a region of the fucking country where it snows more than it fucking sunshines. So yeah.
Well, it's partially true. I mean, it's about half and half there, Cletus. but we can't get wiped out by tornadoes and hurricanes and earthquakes. So there is that. Not far from me. I'm within driving distance of two of the Great Lakes that are like inland oceans, and the recreation and the the bikinis that wander around those areas is pretty fucking epic. So we do have that. Yeah, I don't know, and it's nice to have a change of season. I'm at war with my garbage company still, Cletus.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I pretty much told the lady she was a fucking useless, smelly cunt and to take their fucking trash cans off my property. And yeah, I'm sure that solved all the problems I was having.
That had to have been the fatal blow. The next step is fucking treaty, right?
Yeah, she's telling me that. Listen, she's telling me that I had to have a clearly shoveled, salted, and sanded path to the garbage can. I said, I've been with you people 8 years, and that's never been the requirement. I go, where are you coming up with this? She goes, in the contract you signed. I said, I never signed no contract. I mailed you a fucking check. You sent me a bill. I sent you a check. There's no signatory of a contract. I said, I don't know what illusion you're living under. She goes, well, you could be sued if my garbage man falls. I says, well, if your garbage man falls, tell him to yell out so I can come and finish him off with a fucking round from a 357 Magnum, you fucking dipshit. Dead people can't sue. What the fuck is wrong with this world? 7 years, no, 8 years. I got a contract, or not a contract. I sent them a check in 20. Every year I paid a whole year up front too. I pay for all 12 months of my garbage collection. You never got to contact me. I put the cans 50 or 60 feet closer to the road than the garage service I agreed to, meaning you put your cans out by your garage and they'll come up and get them.
Yeah.
Well, my garage is quite a bit further behind my house. So I brought the cans all the way up to, basically the front of the house. So they've only got to walk half the driveway. So I try to be nice to people. And then they don't pick it up. And then when you call and ask them if they're going to pick it up and they tell you, yeah, and they don't. And then that happens like 3 times within a few weeks. And you call them and ask them if they're going to get the garbage can. Then they take the garbage can and they smash it. They break the wheels off it and they put it back up there. Then when you call and ask them, why are you breaking the garbage can? They replace the garbage can and they take the recyclables out of the recycle bin and they throw them into the garbage bin after the garbage bin has been emptied. So now you got a garbage bin that you use more than anything else full of recyclables. It doesn't make no sense. So I called and pointed that out. Then what they did is they took the cans to the end of the driveway and blocked the public sidewalk in the end of my driveway, just left them there. So it's like I'm at war with a garbage company because they're not doing their job. And anytime I mention it, they up at a fucking level.
Well, maybe you should speak nicer to them.
I did the first 6 times. I was very, very nice. It wasn't swearing. I never said, I don't understand why are we having this issue? I've been with you all these years. And I said, did you get new workers? Maybe they don't want to walk up the driveway. Maybe you need to put someone else on this route. I don't know, So I don't know what the problem is, bro. But
I don't know. I mean, you got problems with the IRS.
Yeah.
Fucking people wanting business done from you. You got problems with the fucking dentist offices. You got
overcharging me.
At a certain point, when you got problems with everybody, it can't be fucking everybody. You got to look at yourself a little bit.
Well, let me just say though, I don't have a problem with the IRS. I made a mistake, and the IRS pointed that out to me. And so I honestly went and corrected the mistake in July of 2024 when I was notified of my mistake.
Well, we've heard an awful lot about
listen. From then forward, my problem with the IRS is they answer their phone and hang up on you, or they don't answer their phone and they put you on hold for 45 minutes and the system hangs up on you, or it's just crazy. I put 17 hours of trying to get in communication with them. That's my issue with the IRS. But the fact that they pointed out my mistake, they were absolutely right. What I did was a mistake. And I had to correct it. So I really don't have a problem with the IRS. But they took my $7,000 and they fucking need to account for it, Cletus. But that was their way of notifying me I made a mistake. And then the garbage company is just weird. And the dentist I was having questions about their pricing. I called around and I found out one lady told me, a deep clean on your teeth is $300, right? And I'm paying $1,200. So I'm like, that seems outrageous. I mean, how could you be charged? But then I find out from the lady that I was talking to that there's 4 sectors that they consider when they're cleaning, and each sector is $300. So that made me realize, yeah, okay, honey, I'm not. These people aren't charging me more than someone else would, because it's a deep clean. They get under your teeth and blah blah blah, whatever. But so yeah, no, that's fine. And then I found the people to replace my teeth, so that solution's behind me.
Well,
The garbage company, though, that's behind me too, as far as I can tell. What I'm thinking of doing is filling the garbage cans of water in this cold climate so it freezes. Roll that down the driveway, motherfucker.
Oh, fuck.
But I probably won't do that, as much as I'm just so tempted to do that, because you know, I don't know. I could say I left the lids open. I mean, if they sued me because they hurt their back, right? What am I going to say? I left my lids open and they filled with ice. I really can't defend that action, so I better be careful. Oh man, can you imagine how much well, you could do the math. 48 gallons of water, because it's a 48-gallon tote. It's 320. Yeah, that's a 500 pounds of ice would be in there. I don't think you could hurt your back, because you probably couldn't even move it.
No, that fucking cheap ass 1/4-inch fucking axle and those plastic wheels would break completely fucking off. You'd be dragging that 500 fucking block of ice, 500-pound block of ice down a fucking driveway.
Oh, it's fucking crazy. I got the tools. Clark's got the tools. So now we've been made to understand, and when I say we, it's me and the third world techs, that you've been ill recently. You've been suffering from a series of illnesses over the last month.
Yeah.
The viewers have been concerned. Or the listeners. I mean, the reason we got listeners and not viewers is because both Cletus and myself have better voices than we do appearance, and we're radio people. Cletus?
Got a face for radio, Sarge. Got a face for radio.
You know, face for radio, and there's no shame in that. I mean, more of us out here on the internet should admit to that and take proper precautions. Oh my! Yeah, we had your buddy A.R. Haynes in here last night. He called in.
Yeah. How did that go?
It went well.
Good.
Yeah. What the hell? What else? China. I just want to keep telling Americans, you people are on fucking crack. We're over here arguing about whether your dick belongs on you or not. And these lefties are stealing all your money through all these organizations and the government. And the best thing, this is one thing you could say to anybody that's a Democrat that you know. Why is it that Democrats only fight for government to exist in all its glorious fucked up form? But when it comes to you and your kids or the fucking broke guy on the street, how come they don't have anything for you guys? I mean, I find it stunning that these Democrats are screaming and arguing to keep these agencies that are spending $50 fucking million to send condoms to fucking Gaza. Right? They sent $200 billion to Afghanistan, and they don't know where a lot of it went. It's missing. They spent $100 billion to make a train to go from Las Vegas to Los Angeles, and they've only got 8 miles of it built for $100 billion. They put $8 billion in battery chargers for electric vehicles, and they only built 5 of them. And they're going to get on TV and argue how sacrosanct and how the government needs to be protected from Trump and his cronies, because they're going to destroy democracy.
I would say some of that $200 billion in Afghanistan went to fuel and maintain that $86 billion fucking military fleet we left behind.
It's. I mean, what is wrong with these people that continue to vote Democrat? They will not come out and argue for you that way unless you want to kill your baby. You got to be a baby killer, or you got to be a gender bender, or a foreigner. And if you meet any of the criteria, the Democrats will nuke the globe to fucking argue for you. But just be some black guy in Chicago that can't afford a bag of fucking potato chips at lunchtime, and they don't want to hear shit from you, nigger. Right? They're the worst fucking party in the world. They literally are the KKK and have never changed. And they've convinced so many Americans that they're the party of the people. And now their true colors have come out. Trump he's attacking all their programs. He's firing like 5,000 FBI. He's fucking getting rid of everybody, bro.
And the only people that are pissed off about it are the people that have believed in information.
Well, they're the voter themselves may not even. I think they don't. I think a lot of them. That's why Trump won. I think a lot of them are realizing. Wait a minute. You're going to argue about all the money we send to all these countries overseas, while we're over here paying $8 for a fucking dozen of eggs. You sick motherfuckers. That's the argument that helped Trump win, and it wasn't even an argument he necessarily made. The voter made up in their own mind that was the argument. I mean, come on. How in the fuck could we be paying this much for food? And yeah, there you have it. I want Trump to go after the farms that China owns, the beef farms, the pig farms. They cornered our pig market in America. I want Trump to take it away from them. Now, I'm not going to tariff them. I'm just going to take back the pig farms. Right? I mean, fuck. Anybody ever see a Chinaman ever say oink? I've never witnessed it. Cletus? When's the last time you heard a Chinaman say moo? I've never.
Well, I mean, in fairness, I did see one type that word several fucking times in regards to Clue over the past month. So, yeah.
Yeah, we can find American companies to make what we need. And maybe what we need are things we don't need. It's things that we want. So let's be a little more clear on that. Things that we want. Because there's a lot of things we have that we just don't need. And your need, I guess, is based on different criteria, but it is what it is. What a fucking world, please. So we got China overtaking us in ways that Americans aren't even fuck. Go look at their bridges. Go look at their highways. Go look at their fucking power plants and their electrical grid. Go look at their fucking buildings and go look at their fucking countries of all over. They got 748 naval ships. We've got 400 and something.
But you say overtaking as if it's an ongoing effort, and I say they have overtaken us as in it's a done fucking deal. You know what I mean? Like I think it's a
well, I'll say why I'll say why I say overtaking. Just so you know, nothing China has was created by China. They don't make processors and computer chips because they created a machine to do so. That technology was brought to them, or they stole it. So they're not the creators of the technology, nor the machinery that needs to be manufactured for that. They are. So what I'm saying is that if they've got something in the ground that's an artificial sun, they got that from us. All the things that people claim that the government keeps secret from us, and that's the biggest problem. Is like China just put out a stealth bomber. I promise you, they're not going to analyze it like they do ours, and that stealth bomber will not be the equivalent of our stealth bomber. There's just no way. The same thing with their naval forces. Like we have 11 aircraft carrier groups. We may have less ships, but our aircraft carriers, one carrier has more air firepower than 100 countries combined. So our force, our projection of force and our ability to move forces is still significant to theirs. But the point I'm trying to make is while we're over here being fucking arguing and being told how all our democracy is being wrecked by the guy in orange, it was the other guys that wrecked the democracy. It's the other guys that stealing all your money and sending it to your friends. There's a record of George Soros getting $200 million from that AID, USAID. Why are you giving a billionaire $200 million? Right? Now, I see giving Elon money, but Elon's launching your satellites into space. Elon has actually produced a product that you're paying for his services on. That's different than just giving George Soros $200 million for his non-governmental organizations who then pay protesters and cause all this chaos in the fucking cities and streets.
I'm just not convinced that their abilities, even down, with the tools that they have, I'm not convinced that their abilities haven't surpassed what we're capable now of producing, right? And I say that because maybe 20 years ago, I could agree with you. But just look at consumer grade products, right? 20 years ago, nobody wanted anything from China, or when they said it was from China, they were talking about something that was cheap and fucked up and blah, blah, blah. Now, some of the best shit that we fucking use, the shit that is our go-to every fucking day, comes from China. And a prime example of that is drones, right? Nobody in fucking America makes drones. The only company that makes a drone that's worth a fuck in the States stole the goddamn design from China and bought the chips from Taiwan, cloned Chinese software, and put it into a fucking drone. That is a 100% fact. They're the only fucking American company that makes one worth a fuck. Yeah. And they stole it from China. So I understand where your thought process is coming, but I think 20 years ago that's true. I'm just not so convinced that it's that true anymore.
Well,
I
it
think,
is true in this sense. The most technologically advanced chips are made in Taiwan with our equipment and our technology. That's why China wants Taiwan. You have to have. They're the only company, the only place in the world that's licensed to even use this machinery because it's so high tech. We can make computer chips on a nano level that they can't. They need those machines. And that one way is to take back Taiwan. The other way is, as they've always done, is they sneak and steal that technology.
yeah.
So I think there's a clear, obvious pattern of that. And so they don't always match our technology, because reverse engineering and coming up with the materials and all of the processes it takes to make the material, you may not always be able to discover that through reverse engineering. That's why I say, yes, they have a stealth bomber, but I would guarantee, just based on the way things have been, that their technology for the stealthiness of it isn't going to be a match to ours. And we've been flying these planes for 40 years. That's what I mean when I say they didn't make the machines to make the technology. They stole the technology to make the technology. And there's something to be said about the guy that invented the first wrench, right? And the first bolt, the first nut. And you worked your way up from a nut and bolt to where you are today. Our country has that history and the engineering to do all of that. They just don't have that. They just popped onto the scene, 34 years ago?
In terms of the military aspect of it, right? I don't think China has ever changed from their military's first fucking priority is to kill you. Whereas, for a good portion of the past 20 years, ours has been, whatever you want to identify with is welcome. We don't really give a fuck about anything other than peace and making sure everybody has everything that they want. But now, you were telling me about the new naval, the head of the Navy or whatever testified or at his hearing, he was saying, my job is to fucking kill or something like that. I was like,
right.
Shit. Yeah, more of that mindset in the right places should set things back on the right path.
Correct. Yeah, and we do have a technological edge. We sell a lot. People say we can't manufacture everything here. Like a toaster or a coffee pot is something that really isn't that important to me. But having steel industries, smelting industries, aluminum industries, mining industries, those are what really matter when it comes to a crisis. And we did, like U.S. Steel came back. A lot of the steel plants that were dying came back under Trump's first term, and they survived Biden. Fucking how they did that, I'll never know, but they did. And we don't need energy from anybody. We don't need food from anybody. We don't need ore. We don't need coal. We literally can be the one of, if not the only, self-sustaining nation. China cannot produce enough food for its population. And China doesn't have enough housing. I think they only give first world status to about 350 million Chinese, and the other 700 million live in abject poverty. So it's the dynamic of the two nations is completely different. Where, we don't have 1 billion people either. But even if we did, we're the largest grower of food in the world. We export all over the globe, right? So we have a capacity to take on even more people here. And I think we should adopt Canada and Greenland. And then we would have the largest land mass of any country in the globe in history. We'd have 29 point something square, 29 billion square miles of territory. And under all that ice, folks, are all your rare earths, all your energy, all of the things that will move our country forward under the Canada's ice, Greenland's ice, Alaska's ice. That's all untapped potential right there. Please. So Trump's on the right path with that. And he's doing, I just wish his executive orders. My only catch-22 to Trump is, unfortunately, he has to do everything with executive orders.
Well, and I wish the fucking media would quit gaslighting motherfuckers with bullshit fucking, like I was telling you earlier, right? I saw that thumbnail. I've gotten to a point where I don't even watch the news. All I got to do is scroll through the fucking thumbnails, and I can pretty much tell you what the fuck is really happening. But I saw one last night talking about concern over Musk getting access to whatever fucking department in the government cuts the fucking checks. And the concern was over them doing away with Social Security and Medicare. And I'm sitting there looking at the thumbnail and looking at the title, and I'm like, you're fucking high. I know you're fucking high, but I'm going to entertain you for just a second. And sure enough, they blatantly told on themselves in the video, right? He's getting access to investigate all of the where all of the money's being spent and blah 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 blah. But everybody's now concerned that he's going to do away with Social Security and Medicare. I'm like, y'all are fucking stupid. That's the most ignorant fucking thing you could derive from him.
Where he's working, and he brought these two techno wizards with him, right? Young guys.
Yeah.
He's working in an agency that there is no capacity to write and install software at all. Zero. It can't be done from the location that Musk and his team is working. That can only be done at Treasury headquarters, which is a completely different building and a completely different location that does a completely different thing. What they're looking at is the receipts of what you cashed out. That's all they're able to see. And they're not going to look at people's Social Security checks. That isn't waste and abuse. That's a fucking service, right?
Right.
So they're looking for the agencies that are collecting money from this institution, the receipts, the amounts, and then they want to see what the agencies did to account for that money. So I mean, what he's doing is very practical, and it needs to be done. And it's the Democrats are trying to protect. You don't have to call it the deep state, but they're trying to protect the bureaucracy that siphons off all of our money. Trump has also said that he's told the leader of Ukraine. Ukraine is sitting on a big pile of what they call rare earth metals. And Trump said that those rare earth metals need to be contracted to us for the money we gave them and the money we may still give them. And I say, you're right. They need to pay it back. You know how you pay it back? With that rare earth metal lease given to the United States.
Yeah.
Right. So he's very practical. And maybe that's that's too much to ask, but then you just shut their money off. And now they're going to have to answer that question. Was that too much for, they're going to have to do something. That's all.
I mean, to the American people should say that's not too much to fucking ask, because right now, what the fuck are we getting out of that deal? Not a goddamn thing.
No, there's no advantage or benefit to us. And he's saying, he points out Europe isn't paying anything near what we've given. And they're on the border with Russia. We're separated by, he says everything that a common sense person can understand. And that's what I mean. These people have been taught that they're like a cult of personality, and they're the cult of differences. They see a difference in you, and that's a reason to attack you or hate you or accuse you. And the Democratic Party it's turned into a fucking shit show.
Well, what Grant just said was something that crossed my mind when you said that about Ukraine. He said probably why Russia wants that, and I'm curious. I don't really know.
It isn't it at all? No.
Okay.
Grant is under the assumption that Russia attacked Ukraine. That's what the Grant, and that assumption is 100%. It's 100% wrong. The color revolution by the Biden or the Obama administration started this war in 2014. So you could Russia did not invade to take their rare earth metals. As a matter of fact, the only territory that Russia is holding is territory that voted legally to secede from Ukraine after an American coup, the color revolution by Obama. After that took place, and all of a sudden everybody is a boy and everybody is a girl, and all that horse shit these left-wing freaks were dumping on us, that became dumping into Ukraine. And 2 Russian-speaking districts seceded by vote. And then the Ukraine started shelling their own fucking people. That's how this war started. It had nothing to do with any resources or anything.
Yeah.
And then other nations, NATO nations on the Baltic Sea that used to be part of the socialist Soviet Union, they canceled all of Russia's naval leases on that sea. And so Russia was like, okay, so we got Ukraine, they own the Crimea. The Ukraine are killing their own people from people that legitimately voted. Now the NATO is taking away our naval bases. Well, go fuck yourselves. We're going to go take Crimea back. That's loaded with naval bases that we built to begin with. These fuckers were leasing bases from Moravia that they built during the Cold War. Moravia didn't build them bases. The Russians did. And they're leasing, you know what I mean? So they're leasing. So they made treaties with everybody, and they are not the aggressor in this conflict. Not even close. Do you honestly think if Russia was the aggressor, there'd be any part of Ukraine that was still free? People just need to be reasonable with themselves. Russia would crush them if they put an all-out effort into attack and conquer that country. They'd crush it. and they're not trying to crush them. They're trying to maintain the agreement that NATO gave them. And after they took the Berlin Wall down, the agreement was that no nation that directly borders Russia will join NATO. They can trade with the West. They can do whatever they want with, but they cannot join the NATO military alliance. We will not accept that military alliance directly on our border. But that means Poland and Ukraine, and I think Slovenia. So those countries that directly border Russia, we agreed in 1990 not to try to incorporate into our military defense of NATO. And that's what started happening under Obama. And that's where all the Russiagate came from. Trump, Russia, Trump. It's fucking crazy, Cletus. We live in an insane era.
We do indeed.
Right? Any what else we got here? So on the, I really no updates on the Idaho4. We're still waiting for some info. I do want to make a correction because I was listening to Get It, who is now Murphy Knows All, and he said that the info that what was sent to the FBI from the Othram lab wasn't a DNA sample 2 times or more bigger than what they got from the sheath. It was the text file that was 2 times or more bigger. And I'm saying that that's a distinction without a difference there. Get it. Right? They didn't send a DNA sample and sent the chemical sample to anybody. Okay? They took the DNA sample and they amplified the sample. And here's the thing. You can't look at the chemical DNA to come up with answers. That has to be placed in a text file or a DNA file, an information file, so that you then could take the information that's been printed and compare it to other people's printed information. You follow me, Cletus?
Yeah.
So when he's saying that they didn't send the DNA, he's completely correct. But the text file that was generated from the DNA that came from the sheath, that file, we'll call that to have 1 million characters, right?
Yeah.
When they sent that to the FBI, it was well over 2 million characters. The text file more than doubled. That text file doubling is as a direct result of the original DNA. You follow me?
Right.
So even though, I mean, whatever record the DNA gave them that they printed into a text file, they fucked with it and modified it so that the text file was bigger. But to me, again, I'm sorry. To me, it's like a distinction without a difference. It's a technical distinction that's accurately described by him. But nonetheless, the DNA has to be put in some kind of format for a human to interact with it, right?
Well, I think
you can't put the blood on your fingers and look at it.
Without knowing exactly what his issue is with that, I can get where on the surface that can sound probably like you're increasing the sample that exists, so of course the probability of a match is higher. But that's not exactly true when the sample is the same, just expanded. You know what I mean? That's kind of the way I see it.
Well, to me, the way I see it is you got a fragment of a bullet and you more than double it in size to come up with a potential caliber of a bullet, right? And this is the other thing in the case that's really mind-numbing, and the judge irritates me that he's not getting this. All they have on Kohlberger is that DNA sample. That's it. But it's not a DNA sample like a blood swab or a cheek swab or semen. It's transfer DNA that was sent to a lab. Even the Idaho State Police lab couldn't identify any person to that. They sent it to Othram. Othram fucked with it, and they ran it through their IgG, and they couldn't connect it to anybody. So then the FBI got what Othram had, and the FBI went into servers and services that they're by user agreement prohibited to enter, and it was in those databases that they were able to find a connection to whatever data files that they happen to have. And so to me, the whole process of everything is backdoor. It's corrupt. And so once they got Kohlberger's name, they didn't investigate Kohlberger. They went back into their files and they changed everything to fit Kohlberger. They changed the locations of the phone. The video that they supplied does not support any identification of a car. The stalking that they implied never took place. They knew that before they even wrote the PCA. So in other words, they built a case to supply probable cause that DNA likely came during the commission of the crime because they're placing Brian in there through a bunch of fucking lies.
Did they ever get any more, or have we as the public got any more details as to man in his undies running past Bethany that she saw?
No.
Okay.
No, we haven't got any more word about the naked dude running from the property, nor do we know which direction he went, nor do we know why the footprint by Dylan's room, based on what Ann was saying, is she's suggesting it was coming out of her room. That's fucked up, bro. And then all the doors in the house, when the cops get there, every door was open. The one cop says as he was walking down the hallway, he could witness a body in the bedroom.
Yep.
Later identified as Zana. So who fucking tampered with the crime scene? And now that you know it was listen, now that you can present the argument that it was tampered with, what makes Brian Koberger's transfer DNA of any value to this crime? It shouldn't even be in court, man. It's a tragedy. These fucking justice systems are so fucked up from the floor up. Yeah, people are being harsh towards those two young ladies, and I'm not willing to do that. Like I said in the other case with that young man, I think if you're going to come out and be a dickhead, then you should get in return the dickheadness that you're shedding. Like I say to people all the time, call in here and fucking attack me. I don't give a fuck, right? But when parents aren't attacking, and the attacking shouldn't happen anyways, it doesn't help promote any fucking solution to anything. So I don't want to attack Dylan or Bethany, but they're surviving is very suspicious.
Well, and it's not an attack when, quite honestly, that's the thing that always puzzled the fuck out of me, right? Is, Clue came out talking about Dylan pretty much right the fuck away. And it's really not a matter of an attack on her. It's a matter of you are at the fucking scene and they don't investigate you based on what we've been shown. And now it seems like all of it is sort of proven out that is kind of the case. Well, how the fuck are we supposed to not consider you a fucking suspect?
Even worse, the circumstances of Dylan, and every single time these circumstances were in front of a human being. You were there means you had opportunity, right? You were there after the crime, and you discovered the crime, and you turned in the crime. Even if you used a third party to do so, those groupings of things all applied to one person have shown 99% of the time that they're directly involved with the crime.
Yeah.
There's just too many coincidences. All the doors are open when the cops get there. Does that mean did you strip search all the people in the parking lot? Did you DNA test everybody in the parking lot? Are you sure everybody that went in that house is accounted for? So there's so much. They should have said that to the judge when they were applying for their probable cause, and they shouldn't have applied for a probable cause to arrest for murder. They should have applied for warrants and suspicion of murder, right? Yeah. And then gone into the house, and then gone into his car, and then so all of those warrants, that would have been an investigative process. But where was the investigative process before the DNA? And there is zero. And they reverse engineered the case, and that's being completely proven by Ann. None of the allegations in the PCA, they're absolutely opposite of what the cops made. The way they wrote that up, even Dylan's statement, is not what Dylan said. So they extrapolated and they composed and they put it together, and here we are now. And this kid may get shot and killed, and it's fucking crazy, man. It's just like Americans and not realizing that they're falling behind around the world, especially when it comes to a competitor like China. And we're going to sit up here and we're going to come up with 8,000 theories of who committed the crime in Idaho, right? 5,000 theories of what happened to Sebastian. It's crazy.
Well, and I don't know. I'm trying to recall. Was there anything? Yeah, fuck. Of course there was. What am I thinking? In the Sebastian situation, we've gotten to the point of fabricating bullshit and pushing it to fucking people, right, on the internet, and saying that we see fucking people and fucking images that.
You got Tommy Jude's you got Tommy Jude's over there.
Listen,
there was someone in my chat room last night telling me they got a video of Bethany being tortured or something. I don't want to see that. And here's the thing: it can't be real. If it were real, that would be part of there'd be either more arrests, okay, or there'd still be a manhunt going on. I mean, everything that would support the video being real is not happened. Do you follow me?
Yeah. No, it's
and people are led astray by this stuff. And then you got a guy like Paparazzi and others that come up with all these theories. It's fucking sickening, man. And the real issue is, you look around the globe, you look around what's happening in your own fucking backyard, and you're going to find that America's in a lot of trouble. And that America, we're in trouble. Your kids are in trouble. And that's what needs to be discussed and paid attention to. You don't have to be political to say you don't want billions and billions of your dollars going to fucking programs of how the butterflies fucking mate in the Arctic. There ain't no butterflies there. And if you're bringing them there to see how they mate, you stupid fuck, I ain't paying you for that. They're giving hormones to mice to see if the mice with the testosterone, female mice with testosterone, if they're more apt to take the sex drugs and become more sexually active. They're doing all of these things, folks, with our money. It's like the nonsense is beyond comprehension.
What is the fucking ultimate goal of testing the fucking reproductive desires of a goddamn mouse? That you know what I mean?
After you give it testosterone, a girl mouse, you're feeding you're injecting it with testosterone, and then you're looking to see, they call them sexual drugs or sex drugs or something. There's a nickname for it.
Are you planning a repopulation of the fucking world, or are you figuring out if you'll eliminate the population?
Well, I don't know that we need to help the mice repopulate. Them fucking things populate like crazy.
Well, they seem to start with mice before they work their way into fucking people. So that's immediately where
that's what I mean. If you got friends that are still Democrats, they're either so far brainwashed they can't come out of it, or they act like government is a god and government can do whatever it wants, or they're just not paying a fucking attention. And I think the ones paying attention are the smallest percentage of the group, which is very sad. But those people vote Democrat because they were under the conditioning that they're for the people. And my tax money going all over the world to every fucking country. Like, you go to Africa, all these images you see on TV of these kids starving and not having any water. Well, you've already spent hundreds of $millions of for them to have water and food. But the nation's leaders and the program, the people that execute the program, American not-for-profits, they're taking that money and siphoning it off into their own payroll, into their own pockets. People in Africa are coming forward saying, we don't want your money anymore. All you're doing is enriching the people that have control of our lives. The people preventing freedom to the people you're seeing on TV are who's stealing that money that comes out of our fucking hardworking tax money. I don't want my money going to Africa anymore. It's not because of Africans. It's because the people that rule Africa that are taking that money and enjoying it. I want the poor bastard that has no water to have water, right, Cletus?
Yeah. And Trump should just do what he did to California, just go into the motherfucker and turn on the valve.
That's what he's doing in the USA. That's exactly what he's doing, bro.
Yeah. I heard that shit and I was fucking dead. I was laughing so fucking hard. I'm like, imagine that.
And you don't see Gavin Newsom or anybody in California arguing Californians can't have water because Californians will drown you now. Some of the best farmland in the world is being starved of water. They don't clear the underbrush in their forests. They've got beautiful forests. That's the most beautiful part of the nation. And the managers of it are Democrat scumbags that are just stealing all your money. And they're stealing your property. They're stealing your city streets and your sidewalks. And they're arguing for everybody that isn't American to get all of these programs that then they're not even fucking contributors to the American dream. They're just fucking freeloaders for the most part. I mean, you can't blame them if you're offering that to freeload. Then there you. I don't know. I don't so much blame the people coming across the border as I do the people that are supposed to manage my country. So I know California is insane. The whole government needs to collapse over there. The people need to take their own state back, and they need to reorganize, because what's happening in California is what's happening in New York, Illinois, the federal government. You're seeing it happen in Portland, Washington. Go look at any state that voted for fucking Kamala and go look at their deficits. Go look at their nonsense. Tennessee isn't suffering from any of that, are they?
Suffering from any of what?
The chaos with the Democratic controlling and creating all these fucking stupid programs and wasting all your money.
No, Tennessee's primarily red. I mean, the metro cores are blue, but for the most part, the state is widely red.
Right. What the fuck? What? Look at, there's enough money and enough manpower in California to put a fucking sprinkler system throughout the floor of the fucking forest. I mean, well, I said you want to fix the Mississippi River flooding? You know how you fix that, Cletus?
Build a higher bank.
No. You build pipelines to the fucking aquifers in the center of the country to grow all your fucking food that we're draining. And when the Mississippi rises, those pipelines take the overflow to prevent floods downstream and send it to the aquifer to replenish it. Yeah. We have the technology, capability, and the manpower to do that.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Listen, a lot of Americans would agree with that. But yet, well, let's not talk about those kinds of things. Let's talk about fucking fat bastard Seth, or fucking, let's talk to Jeff H. about a car that made a U-turn. Motherfucking twit. Or Tommy that's got people pissing on fucking Ethan's face. Let's go down that road. Let's do all of that. The things in the world that really need to be changed for the betterment of mankind. You think Trump is going to fix it all? Fucking crazy, Cletus. We are a bunch of fucking, I don't even know what to say. I said we expect too much from too little. And we think that these people, we expect them to do their job as outlined. And now that we know that none of them are doing it, we act like there's nothing we can do about it. Fair enough?
Well, it's kind of like expectation is damn near a drug, right? That keeps us docile and contained. Because as long as we have the expectation, then the only action we take is either cheer or fucking disgust, but we don't do anything about it.
Yeah,
because
cheer
at the
or
end of the day, at the end of the day, we expect better.
And we ourselves don't make it, we like I go on Twitter. I'll give you an example. You go onto Twitter, I can go for it, but this is what amazes me, and I don't know how people don't notice this. I know that the opposing party, and even our party, there's some fucking jerk-offs in our party that are no good. Susan Collins, Mitch McConnell. I mean, you can make a list of fucks in our party, too. But why is it people on our side of the fence always want to quote the other side of the fence, their lies and their propaganda, and then talk about their lies and propaganda? Why are we just blocking them people and not giving them any fucking reply? I mean, it's like arguing with a kid that stole, you watched them take the fucking cookie, and now you're going to get into an open debate on how he didn't do it? Really? What is wrong with us? We propagandize ourselves by bringing all that bullshit in. Oh, they're gonna cut off my Social Security. The only reason that's a topic is because the assholes on our side of the island are retweeting and talking about it. Oh, these people don't know what they're talking about. Then why are you bringing up they don't know what they're talking about? Why not just fucking ignore them, please?
I completely agree and concur.
Right? Yeah, it's so simple to understand that we propagandize ourselves. We do it to ourselves. That's the power of the left. That's why they do these outrageous things. You think they put on fucking pussy outfits and ran down the streets of Washington, D.C. for anything more than get your attention to talk about it? Of course, that's all they did it for.
Yeah. I don't know. I will say this about the fucking internet and so YouTube and social media in general, right? The past 2 years have opened my eyes to so many fucking things, but the level of propaganda and the pushing of it by people not actively engaged in the actual propaganda and how much we push that really fucking has come to light for me, especially in Sebastian's case, right? Because you've got these two fucking grown-ass babies that live in one of them's mama's basement that call themselves an intelligence agency. And because they go file a $400 fucking lawsuit and get a bunch of other fucking people that basically could only afford to live in these two guys' mama's fucking basement, they think that they're legit. And they go and post all over fucking Twitter every fucking day for, I don't know, 4 or 5 fucking months. And it becomes a thing where every day that's everybody that's following that case, they go and check, what is this fucking clown outfit fucking done, right? almost like everybody's waiting for the moment to where they do something to where we take them serious, but we already know it's never going to fucking come, but we still pursue the fucking moment to see if they do. And it's like, why? We should have fucking all wrote Elon Musk and said, you need to ban these motherfuckers, this guy, and this goddamn outfit, because they're sitting on the fucking internet spewing false information and fucking straight up lies that have absolutely no value to anybody alive. Period. Shut them the fuck up.
No, but I don't listen. Here's the thing though. I think that the free speech protects them and they should be allowed to do what they're doing. I want people to realize that I do view all of this that way. But here's the thing. If I want to stand on a street corner yelling, sucking my cock you'll find God, suck my cock, right? That's protected free speech, but are you literally going to come suck my cock? So if you answer that question, listen, I don't want to know your answer, folks, but whatever your answer might be, should be the same answer you apply to these grifters, like Drunk Turkey. Whatever happened to him, he's on a show asking for people to send him money and thank you for sending me money because I got hurt. What? Wait, you're out there, you got injured, and now you're dependent on strangers to send you money because you were. I don't get that at all. If that's not a grifter, what the fuck is a grifter, Cletus?
Yeah, that pretty much is the first checkbox on the fucking sheet.
I mean, so I promise you want to find God, ladies and gentlemen, come on over here and give me a fucking blowjob. I promise you will find God. And if not, you will yell over and over again, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So at the very least, there'll be some prayer while you're here. Cletus?
No, but yeah, I mean, you're right, and just fucking ignoring them. And my point in saying what I said about writing fucking Elon or whatever is, if you're gonna take some type of action, take that fucking action and make somebody that's running the fucking platform aware of the bullshit that's coming from their platform. Let them decide what to fucking do with it, but then just block the motherfucker, and they don't exist anymore. You know what I mean? Quit talking about them, and their propaganda goes the fuck away. It's kind of like the fucking Democrats.
If you ignore their shit and don't talk about it, don't push back on it. If they think giving $50 million for condoms to Gaza is a great idea, you ignore it. You don't retweet it and make fun of them or point out how crazy it is. Leave it alone and post what Elon is finding and what he's doing to correct it, and stick with that. Stick with what is truthful and what is in front of you. If they fuck up or they do something they're not supposed to do, whether you voted for them or not, speak up to that as well. But the idea that you engage these fucking leftists in any other discussion, global warming, genders, there's 67 of them, that you would even engage them in that conversation is like arguing with a child you just saw take the cookie out of the fucking jar. That's fucking stupid. You take the kid, you take the cookie, throw in the garbage can, throw the kid in his bedroom. Conversation over. In this case, you can't do that physically with these idiots online. So what do? You hit the block button. There's a source of ignorance that you need not even discuss or even make a part. Why would you even let it be a part of your fucking life? There's somebody, like I said, with a pipeline for water, all kinds of shit we could do with this country that would benefit even another 100 million joining us. And rather than getting any engagement on that, we're going to talk about Seth, and we're going to talk about Katie, we're going to talk about Chris, we're going to talk about the fucking grub fucking truck, we're going to talk about, look what they did with those 3 men that died, remember? When those 3 Kansas City guys died, you, me, and Clue knew in like 30 seconds what happened to them.
Yeah.
And we weren't surprised. What about Debbie Eyes? Remember that?
Yeah. Donna.
Yeah. Took us, 10 seconds to figure out that the cops from the hospital weren't, they did nothing to harm the woman. They actually went over and above to help the woman.
Yeah.
And everybody on these fucking platforms are screaming that the hospital shouldn't have discharged her. The fuck do you know about being well, I was a nurse. Well, did you examine her? Then shut the fuck up. We live in a very, very chaotic time when it comes to that. And I'm very saddened that our country should be that shining city on the hill. We should have roads paved with gold. We not only have the capacity, but we have the resources for it. And we've let these politicians rob it from us. And while doing that, convince us about, lead us down these roads of topics we should discuss. And then we take that line of thinking and we bring it out onto YouTube into true crime and other categories. And we're no better than the fucking mainstream media. But because it's not the mainstream media, people are under this false impression that they're doing the right thing and they've won. I don't know what the fuck they won. What'd you win? Pavarotti? Who'd you fucking win?
Well, the expectation lowers when you don't associate yourself as mainstream. So you've always got that scape, right? You're not presenting yourself as mainstream. You're just an asshole with a fucking channel.
Right.
But
Just like me.
at the end of the day, you're responsible for the fucking shit that you say, and you ought to hold yourself accountable for the shit that you say, right?
Right. Here's the thing too. I think that people may miss is I'm not really particularly picking on people by calling out who they are. I'm trying to point out to you that what they're doing is the problem, and you're encouraging it by being a part of it is a bigger fucking problem, bigger than what they're doing, way bigger, right? Because there's 5.63 billion of you fucking twits out here that absolutely have the capacity to change the fucking globe in a heartbeat. And no, why would we do that?
Well, and here's a good example, right, of what you're talking about.
I surrounded Carl. Look at the banners.
So the other day, well, over the past few weeks, Jennifer Coffindaffer has felt it, needed for her to come and speak on the Sebastian Rogers case on fucking YouTube, right? And push just how fucking wrong everybody except for, this fucking bullshit intelligence agency and all their fucktards friends are. And I've expressed my fucking outrage in it, right? And I think it was yesterday or the day before. I can't remember what day she went on this week, but literally right after she ended her fucking stream, we went on and I just fucking went completely the fuck off on her. But what I thought about afterwards is I remember 3 or 4 weeks ago when she first started, she didn't have many people watching. The last stream prior to this week's that she had watching, almost everybody in the chat was what you would call a hate watcher that was just 100% in there to fucking troll her. But at the end of the day, all the outrage about her has spread. People understand that,
right.
But instead of fucking ignoring her, they're still going in there drawing attention to her fucking
channel, they're giving her a voice,
getting her further into the algorithm, pushing her out to more and more fucking people. And it's like, yeah, I should have never fucking said anything because I'm condoning this bitch by beating the hell out of her verbally. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that is what makes propaganda so insidious is that the person it's directed at carries a message. I mean, just imagine that, folks. You're doing to yourself and your country exactly what they want done, and they don't have to do anything but open their mouth. And the next thing you know, their bullshit becomes the fucking talk of the town because you people engage it, you dumb motherfuckers. Right? I got a neighbor on one side of me. The guy could slip and fall on the ice and fall down. I am in no hurry to go help the guy up. I probably would, but not because I have any fucking feelings for the guy, because unfortunately the right thing will overwhelm me and I'll have to go do something. But I would watch him for a little while, I promise you that. Because I'm fucked up like that, right? But I don't talk to him at all. Or his wife. We have completely different views of how this country should work. And to me, it's freedom and it's limited government. And whatever the government does should be to the benefit of me and my fellow citizens. And that's the end of it. And if we then decide that we want to send money to a cause, that should be for a decision for us to make, not some fucking politician that's going to skim off the top with his not-for-profit like Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation. Get the fuck out of here, man. I hear Obama's library turned into some big fucking, that might be a big fucking money laundering scandal. Look how long that guy's been out of office, and I don't even think they've turned a shovel of dirt for his library yet, but I think billions of dollars have been donated to it.
Now, is that something that taxpayer money goes into?
No, not necessarily. No, some of it maybe, because it is something that the federal government will maintain and staff and do all kinds, help staff it. It becomes part of the Federal Registry is owned. But it's just funny. They can't even build a library to commemorate the only black president that's ever been fucking president of the United States. I'd get that job done just on that information alone. I don't even got to like the guy.
Well, here's the argument I would have to even fucking spending a penny of a taxpayer's money on that shit. Are we supposed to build it and maintain it just for a period of time until the outrage of the moment turns against Obama and we go and fucking knock it down because we
No, no, no,
it's
no.
something undesirable?
He funds it and he picks the art. No, no. I think it's generally funded by donation,
Okay.
not taxpayer dollars. But taxpayer dollars are used because data's got to be given from his presidency, and some of it has to be kept an eye on. But so there's some intermingling with the government throughout the life of the library, I suspect, but nothing that really is a big burden to the taxpayers.
Yeah.
I mean, I think paying these guys $400,000 a year to run this fucking country is insane. Why not 4 million? I mean, what the fuck? You're better off working for fucking Johnson and Johnson. You're better off being Trump hotels than you are fucking president.
I still like my concept of a base fucking, actually a lower fucking rate, and then at the end of your term, there is a vote held to whether you get a bonus for your term or not.
Yeah, performance-based pay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't think even congressmen and senators should get less than $1 million a year. And the reason I say it is then when information comes across their bill their desk that they can enrich themselves with, right? They're less likely to do it because money isn't. I don't know, man. You get what you pay for, right? Let's just say that, especially in politics, you pay a guy 150 a year, and then he's got this fucking 18 fucking billion, $100 billion fucking thing comes across his desk, and there's a way for him to dip in it, and nobody will know. Well, of course he's going to. It's almost like power corrupts absolutely, right? And so when you're managing, how many trillions of dollars do they take from us, Cletus, in taxes? Yeah. And you're part of doling that out, and you're not going to dole it out to your friends or to your family. What the fuck? Of course you would. And you're paying a guy. I just think it's ridiculous. They should get big paychecks for these jobs.
Well, and Gray Pearl said, but citizens would be hateful and not fair. Well, I mean, I can tell you what makes me hateful and not fair is when a cocksucker stands up and says that anybody making less than $400,000 will not spend a penny more in fucking taxes over the next 4 years. But the next 3 years, my fucking pay in at the end of the fucking year when I file my taxes doubles year over year, 3 years in a fucking row. That makes me a hateful cocksucker. And if I was paying for performance, I absolutely would be a hateful cocksucker. Had he stood by his word, I wouldn't be. And I'd be like, yeah, you kept your fucking word, you get your bonus. And I think it's a misconception that people would just generally be hateful. I think if we train ourselves to pay for what we get instead of get what we pay for, we would go a lot further. Because then we set the expectation on the motherfucker that's in the spot to earn the fucking pay.
Well, getting it like this, when Biden's administration tells you no taxes are going to get raised on people that make 400,000 or more, and then in the same breath they tell you they're going to hire 86,000 new fucking IRS agents. If that doesn't set off alarm bells, I don't think there's 86,000 people that make more than $400,000 a year. If there is, look at if there is, they all don't need a personal fucking IRS agent. I don't want them fucking hounded like that either, right? Yeah. Now there's, you know what the new scandal coming out of the IRS is? They're running people's information over the last many years through AI to see if AI can suspect any fraud in the return or any inaccuracies and they're not, they don't have the right to do that.
Well, why don't they just get fucking tarot readers and fucking psychics to predict if a motherfucker is going to lie on their taxes or something? Jesus Christ. Fuck it. Get the fuck out of here. AI evaluation.
No, God. I'm not giving too much credit. Look at Gray. I'm not giving too much credit to them. I'm giving them the credit due, which is their insanity becomes the talk of our town. Their malfeasance and ignorance and their lying fucking narratives become what we start to discuss. Our narrative is an accurate narrative, and it doesn't take top fucking shelf because we're too busy trying to use it to argue back against them. And why are we wasting our time with that? Just block them. Block all these fucking congressmen and senators and these creeps on the fucking Twitters and on the fucking Facebook. Block them fucking people. Yeah. Well, it becomes an echo chamber. Well, you're better off in an echo chamber that's full of truth than you are a combined echo chamber where you got to try to fight back against the lie. I don't want to debate lies. Yeah, we live in a very it's more complicated because we want it to be more complicated because we're too fucking lazy to fix it. Cletus?
I can't. Are we too fucking lazy, or have we just lost sight of what the fucking true goal is?
I think we're waiting for somebody. That's why one of the things with herd, we are a herd of people, right? And one of the things with that, not with the herd thinking, and that's why I keep saying I'm not the right messenger, and I'll explain it in brief detail. Somebody like Rogan that has such an influential platform with 100 million followers, okay, is the platform that you need to incite to start pushing the good stuff. Not me, us in the chat room. We're small numbers, but if we combine, hopefully, that message can get spread. But the message needs to be heard by somebody that can do something with it. And you know that can be a slow. I mean, this could take decades to get this. By then, America could be fucking China. We don't know. But to me, that's why I think a Tucker Carlson, a Russell Brand, a fucking Joe Rogan, a fucking Elon Musk. There needs to be a concerted effort to get their attention. Trump, get their attention. Demand the oil on these lands are not federally regulated. And if there is oil on federally regulated land, sell it back to the state and get the fucking feds right out of there. I mean, why is the federal government telling fucking Alaska whether they can drill for oil or not? It's Alaska's fucking oil. You follow me?
Yeah.
There is individually in statehood. That's why we live in a republic. That's why we don't have, there is no king or queen or rulers. Washington doesn't rule. You have different standards in your state than I do in my state, right?
Yeah.
That's so the statehood is important. And so the government shouldn't have control over whether fucking Alaska drills or not. They have every right, and I think we all do, to say we like you to do it environmentally responsible, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But there has to be reasonable fucking limits to that as well. It's a tragedy, man. As Americans, we're not speaking up and saying it. Trump is trying to do it, but we need to support him en masse. And just voting for him might seem like all you're able to do, but really with this communication tool, imagine getting 1 million or 2 million people fucking putting their comments on what they'd like to see done.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's just sort of confusing everybody because it's been so fucking long since any real goddamn sense was was put into that fucking position that people have kind of forgotten what the fuck it's supposed to be like, right? Kind of like, people were saying earlier, well, we can't manufacture the shit that China does. Well, I mean, we have, but we did before China did. Why the fuck can't we?
We're still doing it now, but we're not doing it on the scale.
We haven't lost the technology. We haven't lost the ability. We've just lost the fucking desire because it's easier to let them fucking do it.
Right. And thank God the younger people that voted for Trump realized the happy horse shit coming out of the fucking government isn't doing anything to help pay their fucking rent. Rent's doubled and tripled in some cases. So that helped wake up the youth. But their education needs to be more fact-based, more user. I mean, I don't need a fucking gender counselor. Neither do your children. Right?
Right.
All the happy horse shit they're teaching in schools is social stuff. I don't want my kid to know about social activities until when they get to certain ages, those activities will become known. Right? As you grow up. I don't need to know at 7 years old that you can fucking switch yourself over to a woman. That's useless information for that child. And it's damaging. It's actually very damaging to the psyche of that child to be bringing up those sexual issues in their youth. So, but here's the thing. We can all fix that. We don't all need to be morons. It's just we need to work. Like I said, I'll carry a small payroll. People that know how to do web pages, people that know how to, what do you call those things people sign and send in?
Petitions?
Yeah. Do stuff like that. And even if we start small with 50, 100, 20 people and just start sharing it with people we know. And you could grow it that way. But I really think that somehow we need to fucking get a message to someone that can do something with it.
Are you going to call it your ass hurts message movement?
Your ass is going to hurt if you don't move this message. And I'll word from our sponsors. Ass kicking boots. That'll be the name of a company we'll find.
There you go.
Right? Fucking A. All right. Well, I kept you in here. I know you don't feel well. I'm going to throw my call, but you're welcome to stay as long as you want, obviously. But yeah, there you go. See, I knew he'd want to try to get even with me, but remember, he didn't essentially hang up on me. I kind of gave him the way out by pointing it out to him that he could leave. So, again, there's another example of Sarge being kind. Oh my, he's just too kind, that Sergeant Friday. I mean, really, what the hell is such a kind person come from? China. So they had to be in the house also. All right. So what's going on? There was some talk in there. I'm gonna put the number up. Let me put it on my fucking thingy dingy here. Hang on. Present. Share the screen. The window. The voice calls. The share. They change this back to this. Or this. Or this. Or this. Or this. No, we'll stick with this. And we'll put the call-in number, banners. There you go. Feel free to call in. Feel free to join the stream through StreamYard for those of you that are capable. We did lose our ability to broadcast on X for the next 3 or 4 days because I said something that was, you know me, rude and crude. So what was said on that other person's show? I did catch out of the corner of my eye something about somebody else's stream. Was it about the Koberger case? Something about Jay or something like that? Overall, anything else you can trust? I poke my head on. I love the way you think, Sarge. Well, thank you, No Eyes. Right? Is that your name, No Eyes? No, you don't have any eyes. That's for sure. You got a head of hair there, though. You had me rolling the other day. Sergeant got in trouble. Tisk, tisk. Not me. Sarge doesn't get in trouble. Listen, I know when I'm writing these comments that there's a high potential I'm going to get fucking slapped with some kind of violation or fucking suspended or something. I know it, but I'm a curmudgeon. Okay, I'm the curmudgeon, and I just can't help myself. So what is going on? Anything else? Anything good out there, folks? We do have the call in. It's the call in number is I got to get his comment down. You can't see it anymore. 585-454-9932. Feel free to come in, bring up any topic you'd like on anything at all, and see if you could debate Sarge with it or educate Sarge with it and the audience, or I don't even know. You personally attack Sarge, you're welcome to come in here and do that, especially if you're somebody I've mentioned. I don't give a fuck. Bring your ass in here. I have no fear for that. What else? Yeah, my statement was against an elected official. I told him to go cut his cock off, and they said that you can't spread violence on this platform, but I wasn't suggesting a violent removal of his penis. He could have done that surgically like all these other people have. I mean, I don't know how you can interpret violence from telling someone to come out their dick, but whatever. The call came from inside the house by one of the victims' phone, and they had also said more than one person talked to the operator, so they had to be in the house till the phone was passed around. I don't know about that. I haven't seen that statement anywhere. We haven't seen, I don't think, have is Heather or any of those other in here? I think all we know about the phone call is what's been originally released. And the assumptions are, I think, what you're calling out there, Norm. I could be mistaken. It's that whole case is chaotic, and it's too many of these people with too many different theories and many things they claim as fact that don't show up as fact. Things that were sold as fact were ignored and laughed at, like the Bethany view, and it turned out to be accurate. And this is the other thing. When I know for a fact that when that all came out, I was the only person that argued for people to keep that in mind, because it's so contradictory to Dylan's statement. And then once that investigator said her experience was unique to her, right, and it was exculpatory to the defendant, and only she can speak to it. That's when I remember the idea that she saw someone run away nude fits that. And it's funny that comment, as outrageous as it was back in 23. Yeah, that might be true. Nothing half-assed. I agree with your husband there. But it's funny that comment in 23 comes out in 25 to be mostly, if not completely, accurate. No, I don't think we just happen to notice now. I think many more people are noticing it now, but unfortunately, seeing what they're seeing is inspiring them to come up with solutions to the case or run around screaming Brian's innocent. Well, no matter what the cops did, that still doesn't prove his innocence. And not that, he's innocent to proven guilty, but the idea that you're completely convinced he's innocent or guilty, either one of those, is just for the sake of believing in something. It's just crazy. I can filter myself, but I get to a point where the filter no longer really matters. Chances are they're not listening anyway. People consider her a victim, therefore she was off limits to talk about. And that's just like Cleta said. I think that was one of the reasons why I found Cluminati, because that's exactly the topic I wanted to cover in July when that fucking Linda Lane shit dropped. And here's the sequence of events was: it was me, it was Rory, it was him. There was a bunch of people on his panel, and we were openly discussing, looking into Dylan and the connections that may or may not exist, and finding out more about the survivors. And within 12 hours, that Linda Lane overtook. It came out of nowhere. And that Linda Lane became the talk of the fucking town. And that stream that Dago had with all of us on there, and the idea that we looked more closely at what they're calling survivors, all got swept under the fucking rug and ignored. It was almost as if Linda Lane was dropped to avoid that. And now we find out fucking 2 years later that in fact she saw something completely fucking different than Dylan. So it's tragic. We see our law enforcement doing stuff like that. Right. They reverse engineer the case. And there's in our society, there's just no room for that. What is she going to say on the stand? I don't remember. Yeah. There was also talk that she caused confusion in the grand jury more than helped it. I think Steve said that. And so now, yeah, I'm fine. Now you know what you know about both Dylan and Bethany, and it makes what Steve said seem pretty accurate. Take care there, No Eyes. Appreciate you. And that's the strange thing. Somebody's, weird off the wall comments, like whether people, I don't want you to agree with me, but the analysis of what happened in September 2021 to the other girls that were college girls in a frat type house, that incident mirrors the incident in Idaho or in Moscow. Completely mirrors it. And my analysis based on facts I've shared is why I say it completely mirrors it. That doesn't mean it has anything to do with this case, but that's more coincidental than probably anything except Brian Kohberger's DNA in this case. How coincidental is that? The only difference between the crime in 21 and the crime in 22 is nobody was killed in 21. The person was observed and kicked, and they fled the property in dark clothes wearing a ski mask and ran out of the house. So the other person had a knife. The person was there to kill or rape or both. We don't know. What made them think it was Brian Kohberger was the fucked up backdoor look from the FBI of a text file that they ran through genealogy systems and went into companies that they weren't allowed to go. I say weren't allowed. I don't care. When the FBI or the cops tell you there's no law prohibiting it, there is a law prohibiting you getting in them databases. And this is unfortunately, I think Ann is not hitting the bullseye with Judge Hippler. When you have the expectation of privacy like you do in your home, they can't come in without a warrant. Okay? And going to 23andMe or MyHeritage, where they explicitly say that your DNA will not be searched without a warrant from the police. You now have the expectation of privacy. And that's where you guys saw, just so you know, go back into the original warrant writing, and that one cop puts in there, if this warrant can be approved without the use of the DNA, we would prefer that because there's a chance it could be found inadmissible in a court of law down the road. There's a reason why the people did what they did. They knew the whole reason that they were pointing at Kohlberger was because of the determination the FBI made. And that was it. And that like I've said a million times, and I'm sorry I repeat myself, it's circumstantial evidence, his presence of the DNA where it was found. Unless you can connect them to that crime scene during the time that the crime occurred, based on your best scientific analysis. I mean, if you can come back and show that he went there at 11:30 and hid in the house, this is what I'm trying to say. There's a trillion different ways that he could have done this. But there's nothing that the police are giving us that indicate any other way but the lie that they're telling us is how it happened. That's the real problem with this case. That's why I say I expect innocent until proven guilty. But the part of the innocence that really matters to me is that you're innocent. Therefore, every rule, regulation, every T needs to be crossed, every I needs to be dotted, every comma needs to be used before you can take and arrest an American citizen. And that's not happening across the country. Man. No, the knife attack in 2021 was never suspected to be Brian. And the knife attack that happened in 2022 is the Idaho4. You know, 23andMe is going to get bought out. Anybody that knows that 23andMe, I didn't know they had stock. That place right to be bought. No, it's at $2.59 a share. It's over the last, we'll go 1 year. Yeah, that shit was up to $17. I'm going to tell you right now, you're probably, it wouldn't hurt you to buy 100 shares of that stock. Matter of fact, if you've got $3,000 that you don't mind losing, I would suggest you buy 1,000 shares of that fucking stuff. Because 23andMe could be bought to be added to the database. Right now, it's down to $2. I think tomorrow morning, I'm going to write this down. If I lose it, I lose it. But I'm going to buy $2,600, and 1,000 shares would be what? I'm just telling you. I don't know who buys it, but anybody that buys it is going to make that company much more valuable, and its stock price should go right up. I'll tell you, this is one investment I didn't make and I should have made. You guys have heard of the car company Carvana? Well, their stock was up over $300 a share at one time. And just this year, last year in 2024, it dropped to $3 a share. And then, you know, work, and I got busy. I had a huge project we had to do, and I didn't do anything with it. But then after some months went by, I went and checked, and it was $127 a share. I mean, I literally was on the cusp of buying $10,000 worth, which would have been about 3,000 something shares. And now it's up over, it was last I knew, it was up over 180 or 220. It was way the fuck up. Imagine buying that at $3. So sometimes when you see stuff like that happen, it's worth taking a little risk with your money, because you could either end up not making anything, losing everything, or you're going to hit the fucking jackpot. I see that happen a lot across the stock market. An individual could seek compensation for breach of privacy, breach of contract, etc. Well, see, but here's the thing. The person entitled to that really is Kohlberger and all of his family members. From what I understood Ann to say is that had they not gone into them databases, they couldn't identify Brian Kohlberger's relatives. And that to me is important. The vending tower things were a cool concept. Yeah, that you're talking about Carvana. I'll look right now. What is Carvana stock? I'm telling you, you could go look over last year. It was down to 3. They're $263 fucking dollars a share. They were down to In 2023, that's when it was a year ago, they were down to $5, $4.05 in 2023. All right. And if you'd have held that stock, now the stock is $263. So imagine buying 10,000, you'd have 2,500 shares times $263. How much money would you have? So that's why I watch the stock market. Yeah, that's it, Norma. It's about them trampling the fucking guardrails that are between us and them. I don't object to the finding of the DNA. I don't object to them sending it to Othram. I don't object to anything they did. I object that once the FBI got it, and this is a point that Ann needs to make. Once this is decided that the FBI was going to take the sample, that Othram couldn't get any ID from the databases that law enforcement are allowed to use openly. All the resources, and that includes some private companies, that are available for a law enforcement agency to submit a DNA sample to look for a match. When those were exhausted and all that was left were agencies that required a warrant to enter them, one has to ask themselves, why the fuck didn't the FBI get that warrant? That's the catch-22 in all of this. The FBI screwed up. The FBI did what they've been doing for a lot of cases, and sneaking around and providing names as tips and being protected. But in this particular case, and against not even just the user agreement, but against everything the DOJ guideline says, is that these samples can't be the sole. Can't be. I'm sorry. This system can't be used in a criminal case. It's a tip. And the mention of how the tip was derived is not relevant. If the tip leads, here's a name, Joe Blow from Idaho, drug trafficking. And you found a crime scene where drugs and somebody was beaten, right? Or killed. And you found a DNA sample and you run it through the system and you can't find a match on all of the law enforcement's available resources. And then you send it to the FBI. And the FBI matches it to Joe Blow from Idaho. Your job is now to take that tip and keep it secret, because it's a tip, and try to see if you can place Joe Blow from Idaho at the crime scene. If you can't, you don't arrest him just because you found his DNA at a crime scene and charge him. That's pretty much the way the system was set up to be used. And it just wasn't used that way. Mr. Koberger couldn't argue anything, period. If you found some unknown touch DNA at a crime scene, what would your logical next step be? I would want to identify it. I would want to identify it as a tip. My whole purpose as an investigator would have been, and I've never been an investigator, so I'm using that term loosely, but I would like to know the idea of that transfer DNA, right? Especially if it's on a knife sheet that's among the victims. I mean, whether you could conclusively denote whether that was the sheet that contained the murder weapon or not isn't, for me, even as looking into this, I wouldn't rest my hat on that either. But that sheet is directly among the victims. Therefore, anything that comes off of that, I would like to get identification for. I don't think that that's unreasonable. But I think once you make the identification, as I'll accept they did in this case, you now need to build a case to make that DNA come alive, as to be part of the crime scene. And they just haven't met that threshold. Once it's in the database, then what do you do? Well, you know of a DOJ program. I want people to realize that DOJ program is specifically for this particular situation. And all the guidelines are in there. They're guidelines because there's been no direction from a law from Congress. And this is a new kind of a science. But I think also we may have the answers to why the other 3 DNAs were not ran to ground. Has anybody gleaned why that may not be? When we talk about 3 other unknown male DNAs and all we know is they're unknown male, I think the reason that those were not run to ground like the one on the knife sheath is because the one on the knife sheath is directly related, potentially directly related to the murders themselves, where the railing and the glove in the other location are not, or questionably. And I think because of where the DNA was found was why the FBI did what they did. Yeah, I agree with you, Grant. The PCA had no evidence in it that put Koberger at that residence. And what it did have in there, what could be shown with the data available on Koberger's location, what could be shown is he was everywhere except at that house, right? No, I don't know if I would have done that. I would have got the DNA from all the people that were there. I would have asked for their friends and acquaintances. I would have asked for whatever teachers they were at. So to some extent, I agree with you. To see if it matched that knife, that the DNA sample on that knife. I would have done all of that for sure. The fact that it was on the knife sheet, though, opened the door for them to use the FBI, and they went through the door. So I don't even fault them for that. But the way it was handled from there forward is an issue. Now, the other big issue is, regardless of who you identified, show us how that crime was carried out by this person. Show me that he was at that house and not fucking drinking hot chocolate with his grandmother. Right, because that door was open to them. Remember, this is all guidelined and written about in DOJ. They're to do this. So it's an option that the prosecutor has in all states to go through this route to see if they can get an ID. DNA is a rumor of Bunny Ranch in Nevada. Well, and that's the key. The fact that they're saying they found it on the knife sheath is isolating it, right? To what potentially could be part of the murder weapon. I think we need to be a little bit more relaxed. There are nuances in this that are very shady, and they should be ruled in Koberger's favor. Because the ID, whether you want to give me the idea that, whether you want to rule that it's a Fourth Amendment violation and what they did, and I feel that it is. No, I think that it is. I don't even feel it. I think that it is because I joined 23andMe, and I expect my DNA not to be shared with law enforcement without a warrant. You see? Yeah, but it's one of the processes you have to go through. They did tell us they surreptitiously picked a cigarette butt up from a suspect that had left it behind. So there was, but when it came to the investigation of Brian, once they got the name, come on, folks, what they should have done with that name was not arrest him for a quadruple homicide, but they should have got warrants, surveillance warrants. They should have done what they did with the phones. If the phones weren't conclusive, as they're not, if the video isn't conclusive, as it's not, then they should have backed off on Koberger, but they should have kept an investigation and an eye on him. None of that would be objectionable. That's the problem. They don't know. We don't know that they didn't, Katie, right? So there's a lot yet that we don't know, but I don't suspect that what we don't know is going to be some smoking gun that places Brian standing over the victims with a knife. I don't think that you could ever find that in this case. And that to me is the reason that I object to it. No, I agree with you. But again, we can't say any more than what we can only argue about what we know. And what we know is they're alleging one guy did it. And, I don't trust anything they did at this point. Literally, I don't even trust the DNA. And so, I don't know. The balls it takes to do what this police department did is the exact same balls they used when they accused the chiropractor of killing his competitor. The exact same thing. Other evidence that would have led the investigation in a completely different direction was completely fucking ignored, and they tunnel focused on that one guy. And that's exactly what they did here. That's exactly what they did here. I don't think they didn't work a case. They absolutely did not work a case. I don't know if he did it or not. That's true. They come up with this fucking tunnel vision. And I honestly, honestly, I think if the Franks hearing is granted, I think that there's also a possibility that the prosecutor doesn't continue forward with the prosecution. You remember, it's called prosecutorial discretion. Bill Thompson can end this case right fucking now, and you wouldn't even have to know about it till tomorrow. If a Franks hearing is granted, then I seriously am not sure that the prosecution is going to keep pushing this. Yeah, it's hard to prove a criminal conspiracy. His fingerprints were on the gun. They couldn't really identify the bullet that blew off. They shot Martin Luther King right in the face. Oh, Oswald. You're talking about Kennedy. I was looking at not Oswald. I was thinking of who's the guy that shot Martin Luther King. I was watching that the other day. I mean, we need to start finding out a way to put petitions together in a format that's respectable and none of Sarge's language is in it, and we can all agree. And I'll pay for the postage. I mean, if there's shit's got to be sent through some kind of parcel system, I could print and send the postage, but I don't know how to set up the web pages. I mean, I got a beautiful fucking. I got a brother, my mother's brother, right over here, a brother printer, James Earl Ray. Yep, I don't mind printing up and sending out mailings to different officials. I'm not going to hide who I am or anything like that. I'll do it very legitimately, respectfully, but I don't know how to set up the web pages to do that. Assassins typically have 3 names. Yeah, he's letting Jennings run the whole fucking show, isn't he? Yeah, I mean, we live in some very trying times. On one hand, we do live in one of the best places. On one hand, we live in one of the best eras so far in human history. I mean, we do have that going for us. But somehow we've been able to be duped and confused and misled and brainwashed and tricked. They were so presumed to make an arrest. Yeah. I mean, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Yeah, there you go. William Jefferson Clinton. He's only got, 3 names. Lee Harvey Oswald. Donald J. Trump. So you got a whole bunch of shit going on here, folks. Right? It's most of us do have. I don't have it, but yeah, that's a full name. Harvey is a middle name. So you got anything. Does anybody know, was Kash Patel confirmed? Because that's going to be lit if he becomes the FBI director, and he is the kind of person everybody's hoping him to be. Right? Or are the Democrats still Dems delay Patel committee vote, decide Trump FBI pick is a danger to U.S. security. He's a danger to their freedom. Kash Patel. So I don't think he's been confirmed as of yet. I got 5 hours ago. They punt on Kash Patel vote as Democrats keep up the pressure. So I don't know what's going on here. Democrats took advantage of the rules. They do a 1-week punt on committee votes and a variety of reasons. Yeah, so it's the Democrats jerking the fucking dick. And the one surprising person so far that's come out of this has been that Fetterman guy. What are you thinking? Fetterman says he'll oppose Gabbard and RFK Jr. So, yeah, the Democrats are just playing games to prevent the appointment. But let me just say, because the leader of the Senate and the leader of the House are Republican, they can actually go into recess and Trump could actually get a recess appointment of Kash Patel. So there's games that need to be played. It's sad. It's sad. Like, did you guys see? They go against Tulsi Gabbard, and I'm not a big fan of hers, but there was some freakish transgender fucking guy dressed in a general's outfit that she's replacing, and they're arguing she doesn't have the experience. And I'm thinking, well, look at the fucking moron you put in there. Okay, that's awesome. There, who just said that? Nothing half-assed. I appreciate that. It is, and it's all to distract, because the real problem here isn't so much that these people are bad or unqualified. It's that finally there's people with common sense that aren't gonna fucking bow to your little bullshit fucking games online and your bullshit fucking protests. And that's what we need. I think one thing Trump could best make for himself the image of being the fucking father to Americans. And I wish he would start bringing up the fucking people in America that we don't have money to help, but we're going to send all, and he should beat that drum constantly against the Democrats. The reason they didn't vote you people in, the reason your candidate lost it, because you're no longer a candidate for the people. And the people in America, when I say America first, I mean everybody, from the poorest of the poor to the richest of the rich. Government's job is to manage the fucking nation, and it needs to do it responsibly. And by doing that, I'm helping the poorest of the poor. And your party is what, arguing that government shouldn't be changed, that government shouldn't try to save money. It's like, the taxpayer is not an endless fucking ocean of money as we've treated them. It needs to stop. So there's a lot of common sense things that he needs to just keep throwing out or start throwing out to the public. Fuck these reporters with their ignorant questions. Are you separating children from their parents when you're deporting them? Yeah, we are. We are. In a lot of cases, they're not even the parents. A lot of cases, they're not even the parents. They can't prove parenthood to the kids that they got with them. No, but if I arrest a father of 4 because he was fucking soliciting prostitutes, I'm separating him from his kids, am I not? I mean, come on. That's just, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Anybody that remembers Beretta, with that fucking cockatoo. It's insane. Direct the savings towards the homeless and our veterans. Yeah, towards our people that are legally disabled. That really troubles me. People are through no fault of their own. They get $1,100 a month in cash assistance, some food stamps, and their rent paid. Why not give them $2,000 a month? Give them a little bit of fucking dignity. Or give them more than just a minimum wage job, because they're never going to be able to earn more than that, because they're not in a fucking position to climb a ladder. They're disabled, god damn it. Right? And so, people say, oh, I don't make that much. No, but you can make 10 fucking million times more than the disabled guy's getting from the government, because there's a ladder you can climb in the employment fucking world. And so I think dignity, there should be enough money given to give them some sense of dignity. And that isn't being done. All that money's being siphoned off and sent all over the world. They're building fucking trains from Los Angeles to Las Vegas for $100 billion, and they only built 8 miles of it. Man, it's going to be the most expensive fucking set of rails in the history of the universe. Anchor babies are no excuse. You're right with that as well. Yeah, Beretta was he didn't wear. Did he wear a trench coat? I thought Beretta wore a leather jacket. Did he wear a trench coat? I know he killed his wife. That was very nice of him. Oh, dumpster diver. What was that guy's name? Robert Blake, I think his name was, right? Did he wear that? I don't think he wore a fucking trench coat. No, we didn't wear no trench coat. He wore T-shirts. He wore a leather jacket. What show? He didn't have a trench coat, man. Shame on you, Chamus. He wore wigs. He might have done that. Anyway, Grant, you're wrong. He didn't wear his trench coat. You're thinking of somebody else. He had that bird, that cockatiel. Leather jackets, T-shirts. Yeah. Well, that's his business if he wore wigs. He was pretty good in that show. Come on. I'm not surprised if he wore a wig. He had a members only jacket on. Anybody remember a members only jacket? I might bring that line of jackets back out. Columbo wore the trench coat. There you go. Thanks, Thomas. Yeah, brown bomber jacket, leather jacket. There you go. Look at that there. Grant. Grant. That big W word, Grant, you were wrong, bro. He wore them for court later in life. That may be true. Oh my god. Yeah, the members only jackets were the shit, man. I went into a hair salon today. I asked because I need to get my hair cut, and I asked these, do you layer hair? Oh yeah, we layer hair. I said, okay, never mind. Last person I asked at a salon if they layered hair, they said, yeah. I sat down in the chair, and they cut my hair all one length, all the way around, front, back, and sides. Maybe the front's a little shorter, but that ain't layered. That's like a fucking popcorn bowl cut because I got a big head, Carl. We all used to wear members only jacket. We need to bring that shit back. Uh-oh. He was watching Love Boat on Fantasy Island. You got to send Carl there. Carl, where's your woman? Is she in here tonight? You two shacking up? What do I got? I think I got something here. No one's calling in, which is okay. No one needs to call in, but 585-454-9932. Let me see if this thing. Hang on one second. Oops. Yeah, I saved something and that I shouldn't. It's not that I shouldn't have. It's pretty informative about nations around the globe in history that have had their gun rights taken away, and how not long after hundreds of thousands to dozens of millions were slaughtered after all the guns were taken from the people. But I think that's history we know. Columbo War. Remember Barnaby Jones? I used to call him. My stepmother used to get mad. One shot Barnaby is what I would call him. The guy could be surrounded by incoming fire. He could point at his own foot and pull the trigger, and the perpetrator would get hit with a bullet. That's why I call him old one-shot Barnaby Jones. No matter where his hand was pointing, you hear a gun go off, and the next image is the suspect going down. The suspect was in front of him. Barnaby Jones was pointing to the right. Oh, man. Yeah. Barney Miller was cool. I used to like that Taxi. That was funny. How about that other show there with the Hispanic kid and that old white dude? You guys remember that? There was Sanford and Son. That was funny. The Bunkers. They were funny. What was the name of that Spanish kid and the auto mechanic there? It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. I don't. It was a good show though. Taxi was fun. Yeah. Not Jack Wu. No, who's Jack Wu? That was the name of that guy. I don't know. How about the Dynamite? Remember that TV show? The Jeffersons was funny. I like that dude, the Jeffersons. Yeah, that was Iron. Wasn't that Ironside or Burnside or something like that? The heavy guy in a leather jacket. About Vegadoa. Abe Vega. No, not Chips. Not Perry Mason. I'll tell you right now. Chico and the Man. That was it. Chico and the Man. Come on now. You all remember that shit. Chico and the Man. That shit was fucking funny. I beat you to it, Tamara. I think you copied me. Admit it. You copied me after you heard me say it. That's what happened. Chico and the man. I beat you to the draw. You're dead. Nice hair. Chico and the man. Don't people remember that show? Come on, Tamara. Suck it up. You people are old. I was a little kid when these shows came on. A very little kid. And I just have a good memory. Carl. I think Tamara joined your team there, Carl. She knows I beat her to the punch. She just won't admit it. Which is fine. You know, I've kind of figured out women. Anybody want to know what I kind of figured out about women? Right? I mean, they say God created man and then used a man's rib and created a woman, and they were living in paradise. Utter, complete, total paradise. And this is where it's helped me understand women over the years. That a woman in utter, complete paradise looked around her and said, "Is this all there is?" And that, my friends, was the beginning of our purge from Eden. You ain't ever happy with what you've got. Is this all there is? And Adam was like, honey, what's this? She said, and grabbed the apple. Don't eat that. Don't eat. And here we are today, arguing about information, man's knowledge. Yeah, I mean, when is enough, ladies? Come on. You will never, ever. I just figured it out. I just gave you an understanding of women. She said, I have no expectations. But, it is funny. Accurate or not, I can't really, I can't testify. But it is funny. Is this all there is? I don't know what's going on here. I don't know, honey. It's paradise. That's it. Yeah. What's that? Let me eat that. No, don't touch that. What do you know? And I think that's where the backseat driver was born. In all fairness, even though there was, God knows how many fucking centuries before cars. I think that was the bite of that apple was the beginning of the backseat driver. What do you ladies think? Can liars building this case be charged? Sentenced with DP for attempted amplify? I don't know. No, they can't be charged with murder. No, but that's that. I hope she gets the Franks hearing. I suspect the Franks hearing may bring an end to this case because there's too many things that just the coincidences are stacked against him. Then Adam woke up from the deep sleep and saw what God had created for him. He shouted, "Whoa, man!" Qualified immunity. I'm the type of person that can make being stuck in an elevator fun. So could I. Absolutely. Nothing wrong with being stuck in an elevator, as long as it isn't fucking free falling. Even a free falling elevator, you might have a moment of fucking something said to make you laugh. I used to like going to the grocery stores with the girls I was dating and letting out a big ass fart and blaming them. That was the funniest shit ever. Oh my, they get all embarrassed them. Oh man. But yeah, even on the way down, you could say something silly. Who knows? Yeah, I've never been stuck in an elevator. Although I've been on a number of elevators, but I never, there are people who go up and down elevators every day for work. I'm just not one of them. That's nasty. That's funny. The FBI are supposed to keep what they found. No, that's the catch-22 here, Norma. This is where it all falls apart. The FBI took a piece of fucking transfer DNA where on a knife sheath, which doesn't say that person's the doer of the crime. And they added their help to the investigation and they went and backdoored it, right? Because I suspect that the FBI themselves, as it says in the DOJ guidelines, they're going to offer a tip not to be used in the court of law. Okay. And that's exactly what the Idaho police did with that tip. The FBI was never supposed to be brought into this case. This whole nonsense of the fucking DNA was never supposed to be, the process and what they did was never supposed to be part of this case. But the fact that they arrested this guy, and it was the only part of the case that brought up the name Kohberger, and they then tried to create a story to make it relevant, that's the fucking problem. Oh, the guy was standing above you and farted in your face? Come on now. Errol Smith comes to mind. Love in an elevator. I don't think I remember that. Wonder if the FBI is, I think they are pissed off. I think the FBI doesn't want to cooperate with the fucking police department. We've seen that through the whole thing. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens soon. I'm sure maybe, hopefully by tomorrow. I don't know if there's any documents out there now, if Hitler ruled today, but I certainly hope to God that he offers, and he agrees to a Franks hearing. And that's a high bar to hit. So if he says a Franks hearing is justified, I don't even care if it's sealed. That's a hurdle now that should have been put in the path of the police in a preliminary hearing 2 years ago. I don't remember. I don't recall. I know everything they did. The FBI doesn't appear to want to have anything to do with this case. The FBI proved that Brian Kohberger wasn't a stalker. There was somebody, Indian on Point or some of the days, trying to connect Kohberger to one of the girls. And some statements or some documents that were released, and I'm not really so sure. That's true too, Norma, the HIPAA laws. You met my folks for the first time and said I thought it was gross that he told me who peed in the shower. He did or you did? You did. I never showered with him, by the way. I don't know what kind of, that's not a first date thing. You don't fart in front of a woman on the first date. I mean, that's just insane. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Well, everybody, do you, right? I guess that's what he wants to do. I don't even know. I do know my dentist office, though, is loaded with a lot of attractive women. And in all fairness, that's probably why, even though I had a problem with the original price, not knowing any better, I have to admit that that's the main reason why I went back to that dentist, even though I thought they were robbing me. I feel like I should set up a happy hour over there at 5:15 every fucking day of the week. Unbelievable, man. So what else we got here? We have still 50 people in here, roughly. No one wants to call in. 585-454-9932. Get your ass off the couch, pick up the phone, and make a call. I mean, you get the yatter with the world-renowned Sergeant Friday, the host of the Your Ass Hurts News Network. If you got fat, he'd strap you to a treadmill. Well, that's awful kind of him. That is awful kind of him. What are you going to do? Pee in the shower cures athlete's feet. Dear God. No wonder I've never had athlete's feet. It's because I've never been an athlete. You want to know the truth. The FBI called in a tip. You're right, Norma. You're absolutely on the right path with what happened with that. That's insane. If you get hit with a jellyfish that poison it, that ammonia is supposed to neutralize the poison. Right? Did you guys ever see that movie Dead Man on Campus? You got to watch it. If you didn't watch, I'm going to look it up tonight. I want to watch it again. How many of you seen that movie Dead Man on Campus? Come on now. 1 that you've seen it, 2 that you haven't. How many of you old bastards have watched the movie Dead Man on Campus? Yeah, they used to the ammonia was also used to clean clothes. Man, I'm telling you, that was a fucking funny movie, man. It was a funny movie. Oh my God, was that movie funny? In one scene, like this freshman girl, like this wholesome country fucking potentially church going girl, just like a really nice girl, right? Gets A's and shit in her class. She's with this group, and some of the group are maniacs. This one dude's the best maniac in the world, and they're all starting to smoke pot. And she's like, I'm not sure if I should. I've never done it before. Anyways, anyway, she decides she's going to take a hit off the bong, and she holds up the bong and she leans into it, and somebody lights the lighter for her to toke on the bong, and the lighter sets her fucking head on fire. Her hair bursts into fucking flames, and everybody's freaking out. And there's this one dude in the group, the crazy dude. He's like, everybody get back, get back, get back. And he's trying to pull down his fly. He's going to piss all over her head. Holy fuck. It was just too fucking funny, man. Oh my God. How about when he takes those two guys for a ride? He says, you want to see these, you know how to piss off a cop? Open the glove box, open the glove box. Let me show you how to piss off the cops. And the kid opens the glove box and a gun falls out. He's like, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. The kid's like, what? Why? He picks up the gun, he starts shooting at the cops and takes off. And they're like, what the fuck? He says, yeah, that's how you piss off cops. Oh my God. And then that same kid, after the girls and everybody freaks out, he's like, what is it with these chicks? Haven't they ever heard drop and roll? Fucking girl's head burst into flame. It was crazy. She had this real long, dark kind of, back then they had kinky hair. I don't know what they used to do then. That shit was fucking funny, man. Dude wants to piss on her head while it's on fire, which is really not, it's kind of a novel idea when you think about it. The one who worked in the lab in the law enforcement said many people handled what the FBI sent them. I don't like the fact, okay, Murphy's Law, it wasn't the DNA sample, it was the text file that was derived from the sample itself. The sample itself was interpreted into a text file through their fucking gadgetry and wizardry and fucking witchcraft. And that data file, after Othram got it, was magnified or amplified or more than doubled. And they still couldn't get an ID with it. And they sent it to the FBI, and hocus pocus abracadabra, Brian Koberger. Right? That's what happened here. In the simplest form possible to put out there. Yeah, there's a lot of malfeasance in this fucking world, and it's a shame. It really is a tragic shame. So what? None of you people want to call in? 585. At least I'm not up here begging for your money. I don't got no tip jar. I don't got no membership. I don't got no injury where I need you to send me money through PayPal. None of that shit in this stream. 585-454-9932. Come here, talk shit, get shit talked at, yelled back, whatever you got to do. Tell a joke, an off-color joke, a good joke. Bring up a topic. It doesn't matter. I don't have 3 titties the last I looked. I mean, I will confirm. Bear with me here. Yep. Hang on now. Bear with me. Yep. Welcome to the show. Who do we got here?
In your chat, JC the Music.
JC the Music Man. Are you related to Elton John?
I don't think so.
You don't sound English.
No. I first found you from watching. I saw you on Lana's stream.
Oh yeah.
And I immediately thought, I'm like, holy shit, a guy that just speaks his mind and doesn't care what people think. And that's literally our first amendment, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, this is refreshing, and it was the other day. We went on a rant. The other guy, the guy that was just on earlier.
Cletus.
But
That's
you
not
guys
his real
talked
name.
about-
Just so you know, that's not his real name. I gave him that name. So
Right,
I
right,
can't
right.
even I can't even remember his real name. I did it so long ago.
No, well, I was just cracking up. I was because you know, like just a lot, and really the great thing about comedy is that it's truth that nobody wants to talk about. You know, like just the logic of like you were saying, it's it was the rant about the illegals and giving them all this money, and yet everyone else, you got our own people that can't even afford to pay rent, and
Right.
that and see, we're dying laughing because it's true.
It's the most common thing. It's common sense.
Yeah.
And everything we do in this country, our government has turned us into the biggest embarrassing shithole that the earth has ever seen. And somehow we're weathering it. We're like being trampled on and kicked and spit on, and they're throwing out, and we're like still getting up and going to work every day. It's like, oh, look, another Molotov cocktail, duck on it. It's like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah, and the thing is, the biggest trick in that we've been slowly overcoming is we keep the best meme is we got the king up on the balcony, and the trick is, so we told the pitchfork guys that the sports guys were going to take away their pitchforks, and so it's like keep people fighting each other, so they're too busy to pay attention to the government.
It's just fucking crazy, isn't it?
And honestly, like social media is a double-edged sword, right? We hate it because we hate to see all the trash, but at the same time, we've never been more connected. And like you said, like just walk that shit. Just don't waste your time.
Right, move on. There's so much more to talk about that's interesting. Like the topics that have come across the stream go from Bigfoot to fucking science, from science to fucking ridiculous, from ridiculous to and I'm giving people facts. Like I've never met somebody that supports that we're killing the planet, that the oceans are going to rise. I've never met one of them that ever considered to look to how many glaciers are really on the planet. 11% of the land mass is covered in ice, and only 30% of the land mass is out of water. So that means there's only 20% of the land mass for us to occupy. So here's the deal. If there's 197,000 fucking glaciers, can you tell me when we're going to drown? I mean, that's a lot of fucking glaciers on Earth. 197,000. You could melt one a day. It would still take 550 years for the ice to melt. One a day. You'd have to eradicate a complete glacier a day to get it done in 550 years.
Well, yeah, and that whole scare, the whole sky is falling scare is.
It's another way. It's another God that they won't admit that there's a. And this is what I try to listen. We have some innate fucking defect that allows us to believe, and we need something to believe in. I can't explain why that is, but that is an absolute fact of humanity. And these people have substituted a belief in a power greater than themselves, in a God, or they've convinced themselves that can't be, and now they believe in the science, and their science has become their God. And yet science themselves on a whole is not telling you you're going to drown. It's just the ones that they allow to come on TV. Like Bill Nye, the science guy, he's not even a science guy, just so you know. He never taught science his whole life, never even went to a science class.
Right. It's all about explaining things that naturally occur, and predictions are always, it's going to end after I'm gone, so that you don't remember what I said. But like the ozone layer, ozone is constantly being destroyed and regenerated because O3 is very unstable molecule.
Yeah.
You always find oxygen in O2. So when they said, the ozone layer is natural cycle. And I'm,
so what you're pointing out
with the glaciers, you know,
the
cycle.
What you're pointing out is simple. You're pointing out what I've been saying for years is that you're being taught to believe in information, not learn it. You're not thinking when you're believing, because there's nothing on earth that you can lay in front of a single human being that proves the existence of God. It's a belief that you have inside of you. And nothing that I say, like you can't convince a devout Muslim or devout Jew of anything other than their belief. There's nothing you could do to change their mind. And unfortunately, without such a fervent fucking view, once you believe in something, if you believe Kohlberger is guilty, or if you believe that we're going to drown, the oceans are rising, and it's going to happen immediately. If you believe that, then there's nothing that you can show the person that'll get them to change their belief. That's the problem with believing in information. Because you then covet it, just like the Jew covets his religion, and the Muslim, and the Catholic, and the Christian, and the Protestant, and the fucking Hindu. When you believe, you become unreasonable. You can't have a discussion with the person. And that's what they've taught us to do in school. Right. They're teaching us to believe what the teachers are telling us. And then we defend what we're told. We don't know because we researched that the earth is going to flood. We weren't taught to do that. Like, I was told not to come back to teacher conferences when they sent my kid home from school. And my daughter said, I learned where electricity comes from. We had a whole big class on it today, and I'm all excited. And I said, well, where does it come from? And she gets up and she goes, right here. And she points at the light switch. I was like, that's not where electricity comes from. Yeah, it is. That's what my teacher said.
No. I'm a natural skeptic, but it took me many years to get there.
Well,
like in terms of like what you're saying, when you get stuck on belief, like what belief don't matter if you can't prove it. It's like
well, no, that's what I'm saying. A belief is a belief doesn't require proof.
Right.
You do not need proof for a belief. As a matter of fact, once you believe, there is no proof that'll sway your opinion on what you believe. That's the trouble with believing. That's why they teach kids the way they teach them. So you believe the teacher that we have a climate crisis, and now you blame a hurricane, and the kid accepts that because you've taught him to believe what you're telling him. But there's no belief that. So now if you sit the kid down, like I went to the parent-teacher conference, and I said to the teacher, I said, with all due respect, if you're going to teach my kid about electricity, can you please start in the coal mines? Because that's where it comes from. It comes from the mining of coal to then set on fire, to boil water, to turn a steam generator with the steam that the water boils off. That's where electricity comes. It doesn't come from a light switch. The light switch is where it ends up, but it don't come from there. And the teacher looked at me with wide eyes. I was like, I mean, in all fairness, you're a teacher. You should know better than to tell kids that that electricity comes from a light switch.
To reinforce your point about using logic, I over the last 3 or 4 years, I've been drawn to following a lot of legal channels or logic channels and cases. I think
I'm sorry. I muted myself to let you talk, so I didn't talk over you. I did pay attention.
Oh, no worries. I was going to say, so in that case, it's what obviously drawn so many people because we see through their charade. But if you think about the way the cleverness of so good defense attorneys are typically quote unquote good prosecutors are good at putting on a charade.
Yes.
Like you notice that the way that they like even the police even and you watch like I've gone back and watched some of the different testimonies and based on what they've been like. Hey, Brennan, this is everybody off because he just speaks in. He uses zero facts, zero like motions have zero affidavits. He had the gall to actually, title his motion. What was it? A motion to exclude Richard Green's debunk opinion.
Right. Well, listen, I was
I went looked it up, and it's like, oh wait a minute, there are no rules that say you can't title your motions like that. Oh my God, it's just there's in the legal system, there's a lot of decorum, right, and tradition and things like that, and they're supposed to do it a certain way, but this guy is like doing blatant lies, really. Like when he said that Green never, wrote a report. Like,
well, I found the evidence in that case to be that the evidence was tampered with. The video evidence of that vehicle being brought into that state trooper garage was tampered with. It was reversed. The argument that the woman ran into an outstretched arm and threw him 30 feet through the fucking air is insane. The fact that there's video that shows the back of her car, and in no way does it show a massive amount of white light coming from any taillight, which would happen if you broke the red lens off of the truck. So there were so many pieces. Like, I'm very upset with the defense. A closing argument needs to be the simplest, stupid fucking argument you could lay at the feet of the jury. And I would have said, they're claiming that her taillight was broken. Here's the piece they claim came out of it. I would have said, can we turn the lights down? I would have brought in her taillight lens, and I'd had a guy cut it out exactly with a fucking Dremel. And then I would have plugged it into a battery and showed the whole courtroom this bright white fucking light coming off the taillight that I held in my hand, and said, this shows you that taillight wasn't broke before the police got that vehicle into their custody. Right here. There isn't a taillight on earth that has a red bulb in it. It's a white light with a red lens. And they're arguing a third or a half of that lens was broken off and found at the crime scene. And there's video of her later that morning driving somewhere, caught on camera, and both of the taillights are red. That's all that needs to be shown here. That and all the other multitude of things they did that are wrong. The arguments they're making, they lied about a video. He needed to keep it much simpler than what he did. And I think that's why they got hung on the third charge. But
right. And Jackson is highly intelligent, but and it's nice when you think about the architecture, which even today, at the end of the hearing, and then have to mention that he'll be having something soon about it. That the so-called like these motherfuckers have multiple PhDs.
Well, how about the guy that the crime scene investigator that made his report and explained what happened? When asked, where did you take these measurements from? He goes, well, from where the body was. So you saw the body? No. What do you mean, no? The body was already removed when I get there. Then how did you know where the body was? Lieutenant fucking Joe Blow, right? He told me. And then when you asked Joe, were you there when the body was there? No, I wasn't. The fucking guy that told the fucking crime scene investigator where the body was never saw the body there because it was never when he got there. So how the fuck does he know where the body was? So in other words, how do you start your measurements? How do you say that a guy's arm got smashed into, right? There's no injury to his thigh. There's no injury to his hip. There's no injury to his ribs, his head, his shoulder. Just his outstretched arm got hit by an SUV, and his body was found, according to you, 30 feet away. Did he fly through the air? Where are the footprints? Where are the drag marks? And the idea that I dare somebody to stick your arm out and let a car run into it at 30 miles an hour. It's certainly not going to throw you 30 feet. It's going to fucking break that arm and fuck that arm up big, right? The guy's arm wasn't even broken, right?
The most entertaining part about watching Paul on the stand is that he literally was getting shorter. He was shrinking into his feet. He pretty out.
But yet the jury didn't acquit her on those 3 charges. So that the thing to try to figure out, and I honestly think that they're keeping it simple and just putting on a case to show that everything the police are alleging is false. It's impossible, and they can't confirm any of their arguments. And the biggest thing is the taillight lens. You can't show her truck at 5 or 6 o'clock the next morning going down the street with 2 red lenses. That can't be real. And if it is real, then the piece that they're showing you was taken off of her truck intentionally by the police to frame her, and they did it while they had it in police custody, where they reversed the imagery to show no policeman next to the broken taillight. You know that part, right? Where they reversed the camera, right? So that camera, even I couldn't believe the cop admitted it on the stand. The motherfucker, when asked, he was like, she's like, you knew that video was reversed, didn't you? Yeah. But prior to that, when the prosecution was talking to him, he was saying that proved he was nowhere near the taillight. Right?
No, it wasn't inverted. It was a mirror image, but a generally accurate representation, like he's trying to look.
I thought the case was over there because he had just testified that they were nowhere near that taillight that was broken. And then when she puts up the camera image and says, well, this is a reversed image and it's backwards. And if it were the way it was taken originally, it would put you behind the fucking taillight lens that was broke, wouldn't it? I'm just stunned that woman that it got hung and it didn't go fucking.
Any other judge would have, any other judge except for Judge Skull would have immediately stopped that trial and just ripped the.
No. They had the same process that Koberger has in those pre-trials, whether you watch them or not. I'm sure they did, were motions to dismiss, motion to suppress, and this fucking judge let everything in. And this is what I'm thinking is going to happen with Koberger. Even though these policemen violated the rules, violated his rights, they lied. They out and out lied. They painted a picture that could never be painted. It could never. Those dots can't be connected. And the judge keeps saying, well, the DNA is enough for probable cause. Okay. So it doesn't matter. The cop kicked down my door, didn't read me my rights, dragged me outside, threw me in his car in cuffs, and threw me in a fucking cell, and found no evidence of a crime in my home. But he found a joint. And the finding the joint was enough. That's enough to justify what he did. That's kind of what Hitler is saying. It's like, dude, you need to get off the bench.
I've been trying to argue, okay, you're saying that my DNA found the scene means I did it. But did you get any other DNA?
Yeah.
That was found? Because you can't just test one piece, you know what I mean? That's like saying you walked into a private bar where one person was killed and you just grabbed one person out of the group and said you did it without ever actually investigating it.
Well, it's worse than that. You weren't even at the bar that night. Your DNA was found on the guy's leather jacket. You don't know him. You never met him, but you frequent the bar. Maybe you don't. Maybe your friends that were at your house that left you home, maybe your DNA fell off of their fucking coat onto his. That's what this is. You and then you make up a story to place you inside of that bar. And the story you make up shows that you by looking at the data you're putting in the affidavit, that exact data, when interpreted correctly, shows that he wasn't there. With no ambiguity. They did it to that guy Moore, was it Drake or Moore, the doctor? They painted the picture. This guy shot his competitor down the street. And all the evidence that led to point to his wife, which was substantial, and all the questions they could have asked the wife, like she called the police, my husband was just shot while he was talking to me on the phone. Okay, where did she make that call from? Home or from around the corner?
Nana has done more to expose that case than any other case.
Yeah, and she's right, and she's so right about that. Yeah, I give her kudos up in here a lot of times. Sometimes, some of the things sometimes she says I disagree with, which is normal. And then when she used to have that fucking smoke detector beep, I wanted to find out where she lived and smack her one.
Yes, oh my God, sorry, yes.
That fucking beep. She's like, if people don't like that beep, they don't got to come in here. No, that's true. I agree. But if someone doesn't stop that fucking beep, someone like me is going to snap and you're going to be in pain. Get rid of that fucking thing.
So like you were made that actually no, Lana, that can't possibly be inside the wall. Otherwise you wouldn't hear it. officers, we do.
I couldn't believe that.
Donna, please, no, stop it.
We check. It's
Room.
me and my friends checked. Yeah, they're all listen, when it comes to the mechanics of the home, you're all mindless women checking. Don't trust it. Call a guy to help you. There's no way that thing wasn't going off in her apartment. I don't understand why that lasted so fucking long.
The thing is, we love her so much. But, it's like what it's the object that you think is one thing, but it's really something else.
Right.
And I'm telling you, it's in that room. Fortunately, it finally went away.
That shit was crazy, man. That fucking
It's phenomenal, though.
Yeah, she gets all the documents. Sometimes, like she did a stream the other night, she's trying to understand when they told the story about the kids being here and being there. And I don't know if anybody saw my comment in the thing, but look, the reason they tell the story of the kids' events that night prior to the murder is to make sure that people only see the murder happening in that home. So what they did with that story is they excluded any other location. Do you follow me? She was having a tough time interpreting why the PCA has so-and-so at the grub truck and Zane and Ethan at the sorority and Bethany, they danced, whatever they did, that fucking. So they paint the story of the evening from 9 at night until the time of the crime. And she was like, there was no need to put that in the warrant. But what she's missing is that establishes the house is where the crime took place. And it to the exclusion of all else. Just like the lie they told.
The other thing, I think she mentioned that it had to be, they mentioned some of the things because they have to establish the timeline too. Like it had to happen at this time because we saw that car.
That's part of the timeline, but it's also to the exclusion of any other location. You see? So it's more than just setting up a timeline. What that is telling you is these victims were absolutely at that house and nowhere else between 4 and 4:30 a.m. And they led to that because of the phone call, because of the 412 TikTok, the 4 o'clock delivery, the fucking they got the 339 car, but they show the girls getting dropped off and that guy's testifying. So they set it up for two reasons. A is the timeline, but most importantly is that the only place you can consider where the crime took place is in that house. And at this point, I question that, not because I want to be TikTok or Tommy Jude, but because I see that in the PCA is that leaves no doubt that happened there. But everything that they've told us that leaves no doubt Kober did it is all in doubt, right? So
right. Whenever in my mind, whenever someone's overemphasizing something like in the Karen Root case, when everybody is trying so hard to say that Colin wasn't there at a certain time, like when just like in this like what you're saying about whenever they overemphasize something, it smells fishy to me. It's like, okay, what are they trying to convince us? It's like the magic trick. Like, look over here, look over here, look over there.
Well, in all fairness too, so much has come out that's wrong that some of these people, these people want to theorize, and I think that's ridiculous because I think it hurts the victims and it hurts innocent people that you're pointing fingers at. Yet when you look at what you see now, you have to throw into question now the entire case as laid out doesn't seem to have any reality to back it. So the question remains, what really happened there? And I'm not going to attempt to answer it. And I'm not going to have any fucking magic videos or sound bites to play to prove a fucking this or that. But it's exculpatory to Brian at most. And at the worst, it just shows you how fucking crazy these policemen are. I mean, how the fuck?
And
go ahead.
Just like you were saying that people naturally want to believe something, people were naturally so curious and have to figure out why something is just like historically, like all the mythology came around because people have they just had to explain something that they didn't know somehow. And so, like with the Richard Allen case, they just tried to hide it. And and the problem is, when you hide something, that's when you get all this information. It's like, okay, if you're not going to tell us, then people are going to to it. In the Brian Koberger case, you're going to feel everything, then everyone's going to speculate because when you can't see the answers, then that's where the speculation is.
Yeah, but listen though. Here's what I'm saying. That we've been taught that that's normal, and it's wrong. That is not a normal thing to do. We think it is because everybody does it. And I'm just telling you, if everybody were to take a shot of fucking acid every morning with no ill effect, it doesn't make it the right thing to do. And that's the problem in society today is people want to defend what they're going to argue is right because everybody else is doing it. And that's what I push back against. That is not the determination of right and wrong. If that were your child that were taken out like that, would you want these streamers doing what they're doing or surrounding the case of your daughter being fucking slaughtered like that? How about if you're one of the frat boys? Do you want your frat label as being involved in that? I mean, this kid's got a whole fucking life to live that may not even be a name mentioned in any of this at all, but he's part of the fraternity. So now, I mean, my point is that you do more damage with this speculation than you do anything in the arms of helping. And that for whatever reason, right? For whatever reason, we, the masses of people, the sheep that are out here, the 5.63 billion morons, don't want to internalize and understand how simple that point is, right? He's innocent until proven guilty. And if you're going to observe crime, you have to pay attention to what's proven and not proven, and that's all you can do. You can't interpret that, right? Like I just said, when you understand the evidence of of what's being said and the way they wrote that PCA in a way to make you think what they want you to think. He stalked them. He drove around there. He was around there. We got his car. Clearly, these kids were home. There's no doubt they were home. Here's all the proof they were home. Clearly, the crime happened there. And to me, it leaves a question in my mind. But I am not going to run with a conspiracy theory that they were killed somewhere else and brought there because there's no evidence to support that. But I can in my own mind wonder, but not make a scream out of it like these assholes do. Right. And they present all of this data like the Pavarottis and the Tommies and the other idiots out there, where I would want to make an issue out of Dylan saying Kaylee ran downstairs and then upstairs and then downstairs again. Now, there's something to be discussed there directly about Dylan. How could the dead body in the bed have actually ran up, down, up, and then down again, which would leave her on your floor but end up in a bed upstairs dead? How could that be possible? What does Dylan know that, right? What does she know that she's not telling us? Is she accurate? Is she misidentifying the person that did the running up and down? I mean, my point is that there's no conspiracy theory there. There's no creating fucking, you're asking legitimate questions on the data given you. That's not, that to me, you're not theorizing.
And that's a healthy debate. If you ask the question without coming to a conclusion, you can't prove it. But asking the question is how you at least get to the truth. And like Lana does is it constantly shows the different news clips where it's like, wait, they're making claims that aren't even supported by anything that's been in the PCA. Like, but I totally agree with you. You ask the question, don't think the theory.
Right, and the questions are fair. We know two people survived. That means they both placed themselves at the scene of the crime. That doesn't make them suspects. However, you have to vet that to the end before you could determine that they're not, because there's no other two living human beings on Earth that we can be more sure of that were at that crime scene than them two girls, because they told us they were. You see? And that needs to be absorbed and understood and examined. That doesn't mean they're the committers of the crime or they're involved in the crime, but that's where you would want to start, right? You start from the closest thing first. You can't go around the world without starting from some fucking airport somewhere. And if you're going to pick the airport in the middle of the fucking world, you're an idiot. Start from your home place and fly away, right? So you try to do a simple, sensible way of examining the information. And that doesn't come by suggesting someone parachuted. There's tunnels under their house. So there's fucking some guy climbed in on a tree branch, or I got a reflection from moonlight hitting a fucking car, bouncing off a fucking glass window. And look, I see this guy being peed on. That's the kind of shit that you didn't hear that one? How about that WSU kid, that WSU Kim coming right on the beginning telling us everybody knew at 10 o'clock? Well, then how come you're the only motherfucker out here saying that? Why don't you have any proof to support that? Well, I'm not going to give you the proof. Then right. No. I'm saying that WSU Kim or WSU Mom, whatever the fuck her name is saying that there's people knew at 10 o'clock before there were any, they were like sending it across one of those message systems that conveniently don't save the fucking message. But she claims she had a screenshot of it or something. But anyway, my point is there's no evidence that anybody called anybody at 10 a.m., especially other students, to alert them that there were 4 dead bodies in that house. She's claiming there is. But to what end if you can't prove what you're saying? You're just another dickhead making a statement. Like, they believe that girl. They believe that Kim got a lot of attention. How about the young woman that said she was a direct friend of Bethany, and Bethany told her she saw a naked person running away from the home? Now we find out that's true. That girl got ridiculed and fucking shamed for saying that. I kept a hold of that data. Not because I thought it was true, but because I thought it was so fucking out there and so contradicted to Dylan that it just might be true. Just think about what that fucking detective said. Her information is exculpatory to Brian Kohlberger, and it's unique to her own experience, and only she can speak to it. That means whatever she saw is completely contradicting Dylan. So when that woman offered, if somebody would have said to me she saw a black man, okay, that would be completely contradicted to Dylan, right? How about if she said, I saw a woman? So when that person came out of the blue and said, listen, I'm a friend of Bethany's, and she told me she saw a naked man running away from the house, I said, oh, I think that might have some fucking validity because it was so contradictory, and it fit. In a weird way, it fit what that Ann Taylor's detective was telling the public about what Bethany saw. He didn't tell you what she saw, just that it was that fucking unique and different that it was exculpatory. And everybody ignored that. Now here it is, and we find out that's what she saw. And I'm not saying that to prove I'm right. It's just an analysis of the data. Not all the data you get is going to apply. But you should be aware of as much of the data as possible so you make sense of what the fuck you're looking at. Right? I can't show you a fucking turn signal. I can't take a cigarette lighter out of a fucking old car and ask you what car did this come from. How the fuck are you going to know that? Right? At best, you could say General Motors or Ford. Right? At best, that's what you might be able to do.
Right, exactly. You'd have to know your, what do you call that, symbols and manufacturing process. How did they stamp that little cigarette onto that otherwise, yeah, no one would do that.
Yeah, I mean, so, and you're getting pieces of information. In this case, we're getting the pieces of information, right? And they're not in order, but they're information that I try to tell people. If the police put in a document that, what?
Something we were talking about earlier, that you were on the right track. There should be no way that they can prove that Kohlberger did it. And then my piece is, think about all these things where the cops, I don't know. If we have the right, or this is something we get, we have the right to face our accuser,
right?
And if the cops are even, they're the accuser, but yet they didn't do the investigation. So if you can't ask them, well, what time did you get that? When did you get that report? Why did, I just did what he told me to do. Okay, well then why aren't we talking to him instead of you?
Right.
They're not going to testify. So that to me says that she should hit home on, okay, how is Brian supposed to confront his accuser if you guys don't even know what the hell you're talking about?
Well, how about the fact, and this is what I think that should be part of the Franks hearing. If people think back, remember how many times Judge stated clearly that the IGG was not how they identified Mr. Kohlberger. The state has already said that. And Bill Thompson said, yes, Your Honor, that's accurate. That was said in Judge's court, folks, at least 3 times. That the judge himself said, wait, they're not. The IGG was not how they ID'd your client. She's like, Your Honor, I've let other attorneys look at this and try to help me. We can't see where they could have identified my client. There's nothing in this documentation that shows an identification of Brian being involved in this case until the IGG. And he says, well, the prosecutor's telling us that that's not how they ID'd Brian. Now, when you look at
the prosecutors don't even want to use it.
Right. To the point that he wants to throw it all out and only use the buccal swab because He was hiding from the court. He was lying to the judge when he said that. That guy should be part of that's why maybe this girl Jennings is doing the fucking arguing. It may not be that Phil fucking crack smoking clauses is letting her take the lead to save embarrassment. It might be because part of the Franks hearing is pointed at his fat fucking face for doing what he told Judge unequivocally that it was not the IgG that was used to identify her client. I don't know why we're talking about it. It was a tip. Blah, 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 blah. You fat fuck. And I suspect that if she's given a Franks hearing, that has to be one of the issues she brings to the court. And the statements that he made in court to a sitting judge in session. Right now, he's admitting that that's how they now Jennings is admitting that's how they came to the fucking idea of Koberger. That contradiction, I suspect, is why that fat bastard is sitting behind her. Okay? Like fucking cracker claws. I remember I told a district attorney one time, I said, I don't know what you think you're doing, but I ain't here to pay for another one of them red fucking dresses you're wearing. Mingy, the woman almost wanted to fucking kill her. She's hot too. The dress looked good on her, there's no doubt. But that ain't why I'm here. It's not my job to be fucking admitting I'm guilty. Even I can't tell you how many times they had me anyway. There's a lot of cases where every time you get a lawyer, like I went to previous prosecutors, 2 of them, on a charge that I had, and they said they're going to convict you. You're a convicted felon. You can't even risk getting caught guilty on this. You need to plead to that. I was like, go fuck yourself. The next one told me the similar thing, but the same theory. I said, go fuck yourself too. And they wanted $8.50 an hour. Fuck you. I went to a real estate lawyer that I was doing work for because I own a construction business. And I said, do you have access to a law library? He goes, ain't that some funny shit? He goes, I actually am renting space in this huge law firm that gave me unfettered access to the law library. I was like, can I use it? He's like, for what? I said, well, let's go get lunch, I'll tell you. And I went into that law library and I found I found direct case law that was directly related to what I was going to court for, and took that and had him write a motion. Okay. And then took it in front of the judge. And when we got in the courtroom, he said, Your Honor, he goes, in all fairness, I am representing, and he gives my name. He said, but in this particular instance, I would prefer the client explain what he wants to explain to the court. And he said, I wrote the motion and signed it, but you're better getting the explanation from him because because I'm a real estate lawyer. That's what he told the court. And I explained it to the judge, and the judge he looked at me and he just shook his head. He goes, you got case law to support that? I go, well, that's what I was reading from. It's in part of the motion. And the case got dismissed, fully dismissed.
Phenomenal. That's awesome.
But
I mean, and the thing about the justice people want to say is, did they do it or did they not do it? No, that's not the justice. Can you prove it?
Dude, I was a jailhouse lawyer. When I spent 90, I caught a 90-day sentence in my town, which gives you 60 days in jail. And I was the guy in this big cell block that would talk to people, listen to people. And I got a guy out of jail that was arrested for a probation violation for a possession of a firearm. Okay, and here's how I got him out of jail. He was in a car, sitting in the front passenger side of the vehicle, and it was a 4-door car. The car was pulled over for illegal, whatever the car did, speeding, whatever, legitimate pullover. The police officer asked for IDs, and he had to admit that he was on probation or parole. That's one of their requirements, and he did this. So now that he was on parole, and the cop suggested, this is a long time ago, he smelled weed, whatever his reason was, he searches the car and he finds a firearm. And the firearm is under the back seat on the driver's side, and there were 2 people in the back seat. Well, he charges the gun possession to the kid on parole and locks him up. And I went to the law library and I found case law that defined what possession means. And possession means it needs to be in your immediate domain, and you have to have unfettered access to. Okay? And the case of that the Supreme Court ruled on, and this was New York and the Supreme Court, was 2 heroin addicts were on a staircase. There was heroin on the 3rd step with needles, and the other heroin addict was on the 12th step, and they arrested both of them for possession. And the guy that was on the 12th step got his case overturned for the simple reason that it was not within his domain nor immediate possession. The fact that he was high on heroin had nothing to do with it. You charged him with possession of a narcotic. That case was dismissed. And I used that case and that case law and had him submit that to the fucking public defender and the judge, and they released that kid from jail for possession of a firearm. The person that sat above the firearm in the back seat, if anybody was going to be charged with possession, would have been that person, not the kid in the front seat. The law is not that complicated. I guess if old Sarge can figure shit like this out, any of you can. The reason the law seems complicated is because these lawyers play with words and they use the most extraneous way to explain the simple. And when you read the words and break it backwards into simple, it's simple. It really is. The law is not that complicated.
So I was recently I'm in Army Reserve. I've been dealing with the system for a long time. It's slow and funky and it sucks. But I was talking to this officer in the unit the other weekend, and great guy. I didn't know him before. But
Oh, I'm sorry. I was arrested for possession in the 7th degree. A friend of mine and myself went into a known drug house, and when we left, we got stopped and searched. And I was arrested for possession of the 7th degree, and he was arrested for possession in some other degree, a lower number, a more serious crime. But the cocaine was in his pocket. And I said to the cop, "You can't arrest me for possession. It was in his fucking pocket." Cop's like, "You're going to jail for possession." I know what I can do. I said, "Son, you don't know the law. You're fucking with the wrong guy." And that's me. You're gonna make me money. And they arrested me for possession of the 7th degree. I got that case dismissed and then sued the fucking town for the city for unlawful arrest. And they gave me $10,000 for that. I was also arrested one time because they arrested me for a stepbrother. A stepbrother, he's really a cousin, but a stepbrother nonetheless that committed a crime and was supposed to, and was convicted, and then was to come back for sentencing, and he skipped town. And they arrested me coming out of divorce court for him. And I said, "It's not me. We have completely different first names, completely different descriptions. This guy's got tattoos on him. I have none. He's got tattoos that went from his wrist to his elbow, from his elbow to shoulder. He fucking guy was tattooed like." I said, "You're arresting the wrong guy." And they arrested me anyway. I get down to the town where he skipped out. And I said, and I made that statement to the judge: "This is not me. My name is not John. My license, my image on the license. You arrested me out of a courtroom where my name was in the court proceeding. I left the courtroom with a proceeding with my real name on it, and you arrested me, accusing me of being John, and it ain't me." And a detective came in from the barracks, or a lieutenant, and he told me, "Hold up your thumb." I held up my thumb, and he looks at the judge. He goes, "This ain't the guy. This guy don't have a double warble in his thumbprint." I'll never forget that word, double warble. What the fuck it means, I don't know.
wow.
And I sued them and got $5,000 for a few hours of inconvenience for false arrest.
Good.
Yeah. The law is not, I mean, I get a kick out of, that's why I say when I look at a criminal case, I look at the proof. I don't want to hear the conspiracy theories of who could have, would have, maybe did it. I want to see the proof that the state's presented against the suspect. That's all that matters to me.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. What can you prove? Or at least the shitty thing is like, and to go to your point of the Karen Reed case, sure, we want to get big brained and technical about things, but you really need to dumb it down so that the jury, obviously there's smart people on the jury, but they're going to get groupthink. Because there are going to be some less intelligent people that happen to know why this isn't maybe on eight. This is the person. But I've noticed that a lot of less intelligent people are the ones that make the most noise. And like, no, don't believe what they're saying. Come on, like, shut them up. Make it simple. Present the most understandable basics. Like, it cannot possibly be this person. But
Yeah,
I agree with you. Don't throw out wild theories.
yeah, they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, they're trying to decide whether the guy's innocent or guilty. It's like you assholes have no business in even trying to come to that understanding because you're ignoring the proof. And that's what from right in the beginning. When I first came in here in 2023 on Dago's channel, the first time I ever showed a true crime, I said the PCA is a joke. It's a conspiracy theory. He doesn't know whether Brian turned his phone off or not. There's no way to prove that he did or didn't. It's an unprovable statement. It shouldn't be in an affidavit to arrest an American citizen. And all of these locations that they claim are erroneous. I mean, they don't show you that here's the evidence that places him here and here and here. They didn't do that. This was all a summation of an opinion. We don't know how he left. Well, what the fuck? How could you not know how he left when you know how he got there? You can't have one without the other, right? So it was like, aren't people seeing how fucked up this case is? Back in the day, it was right in the beginning, right?
That's why it gets so much attention, because so many of us see that there's something wrong with it. But you have to remember the name of the guy down in Texas, sometime in the last month or two, there was a guy arrested for killing his wife and disclosing that. And they waited. And, like, if you read their PCA, it's so well written because they developed the case.
Yes.
Before arresting the guy.
Yeah.
And it reminded me kind of what you had said the other day about what was it? The vehicle that was left running in the driveway.
Yep. The guy's Ford F-150. Yep.
So they took the case first and then arrested the guy. But when you read, I don't know if it's the same case, when you read that one, the CPA, they did a phenomenal job of finding all the evidence, following all the leads,
right,
and building the case. And then, so when you read that CPA, it follows a logical path. They have all the evidence. Whereas with some of these other, like the Rich Allen case or the Cobra case, yeah, it doesn't.
I've never been arrested without a detailed explanation as to why I was being arrested or charged or indicted, ever. They didn't leave out any of the crucial information. That's another thing too. It's exasperating. People that have never been through the system, that the PCA doesn't have to include everything. Well, if there's a motherfucking picture of Brian with a knife in his hand, okay, standing over a bed with a dead body in it, they're going to put it in the PCA, you fucking twit. I mean, you're going to put in the PCA the most condemning part of the fucking evidence that you have. You're not going to, who the fuck are you going to hold it back for and make it secret? Explain why that would even be something that could be considered. And in all of the reality, where the fuck does your head land on that fucking answer? Right? You're not going to just tell a fucking story. It's phone. And here's the thing. Here's the other problem with the PCA is Brian Koberger. It's been my experience that criminals turn their phone off prior to committing a crime. Okay. But you also mentioned he could have put it in airplane mode. You also fucking mentioned that he could have drove out of network. So here you're alleging this fucking kid did it. He did it this way. He turned it off. And then the next statement is, but, it could have been an airplane mode or it could have drove out of the area. So in other words, you're supplying Brian with the exculpatory evidence he needs to argue that he didn't turn his phone off. You're telling us there's two things that say he didn't, but you're sticking with the one idea because you've been a cop for 15 years and criminals do that. Well, Brian Koberger wasn't a criminal, you stupid fuck. He probably knows more about the law than you and all the officers you work with. And your experience means shit when you're talking about an upstanding American citizen. Why would you apply the standard of criminal to Brian Koberger? You could apply it to me. I can't argue that. You can even entrap me in crime because I've been convicted of a felony. As long as the crime is similar to what I committed, they can create a conspiracy to get me involved in a crime. And if I go along with it, I can be convicted. Now, they can't do that to you. They can't do that to a non-offender. The cops can't frame you, but they can legally frame a convicted felon legally. And I don't object to that. I just, listen, I understand how the rules are and how you play them. But when you got a kid that never committed a crime, why is your first thought as an officer that all criminals turn their phone off to match their location when the kid you're looking at has got no known criminal behavior? That to me is offensive. That should offend every American. So you mean to tell me because there's a crime in the area and I may or may not or could possibly fit some part of that crime that you're going to look at me purely as a criminal? Nah. That one judge just got fired for doing that. Did you see that?
The mind-blowing thing, like when you think about, like, I'll never forget Clyde Ray's testimony when he is the expert who literally learned his own program after being a cop and working on this stuff. But when he's sitting there telling you could not possibly have come up with that information with the data they gave you. Like,
right. You're talking about
they basically made it up. Like the Brian Cooper.
The cast report. You're talking about the cast report they never made. We just found that out the other day. Cast reports was never made. It's a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, he basically took a screenshot of Google Maps or Earth and then started drawing the lines.
Did you read the PCA where Brett Payne says that he talked to cast members, FBI cast members, and he tells you that this guy has 15 years experience, this guy has 7 years experience, and after a conversation on the phone with them, I was able to place the locations of the travel of the white suspect vehicle 1. And I right in the beginning, I said this. I said, who the fuck does he think he is determining where the location of the car is? He's got no training in cast. He has no idea what the fuck these guys know. And the bottom line is, if in one phone call you could be a cast fucking professional, why do these guys have to get trained and go to school for it? I mean, why are there even fucking schools if all it takes is a phone call to fix a fucking helicopter engine? You fucking jerk off. What is wrong with Americans? Yeah. How could this cop be the one doing the cast when he isn't trained to do the cast? Well, I had help with Mallory. Well, Mallory then did the cast, but he didn't do a cast. He did a PowerPoint presentation for the grand jury that was an utter fucking lie.
Are you familiar with Andrea Burkhart?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like her because I like her mind. She's definitely got a mind for this, and she isn't like looking for a guilt or innocence. She's looking at the information and just showing you how fucked up it is where it is, and where it isn't, she shows you where it isn't. Yeah, I like her.
Yeah, and something that she said the other day that really rang. It was the last. She watched through the recent hearing. She said, "You guys keep saying this looks like 30 cops, and it's really bad. It doesn't make sense." She said, "Us lawyers have been saying this, like it's been like this." She said, "It's not new." She said, "The system has been like this for a long time. We're just now seeing it because of things like social media." But like it's been this way for a long time, and it got me thinking that in the case of Richard Allen, where everybody is just everybody at the outside clearly sees that he's not the guy, right? But I'm thinking the cops are in the middle of nowhere, like they're stuck in a mentality and where they believe their own bullshit, and so whether we think that there was, I'm just saying that they that's like you said, what happens to America? These guys have just gotten away with it for so long. So that's just the easy, like for them, it's the easy way. Oh, we're gonna close the case. Who cares if you did it or not?
Well, these people think everything is simple, and that's why they think they can solve the crime in their own fucking bent fucking brains. Brian Koberger was portrayed to be a fucking mastermind that went to school his whole life to plan out this fucking crime. Remember? That's the way they painted the picture, and they made it look like they outsmarted him. That's the fucking claim. This kid was a fucking a PhD. His whole fucking life was spent learning this, and that's why there was so little to go on. And we outwitted him. We found transfer DNA. That was the whole story around this kid. Everything this kid did his whole life, they painted it out to be that his whole life, this was his ultimate goal was fucking multiple homicides. He paid attention to serial killers. He studied this. He had a questionnaire talking to criminals. Everything they did was to try to paint the picture of a criminal fucking mastermind that they outwitted. But why the fuck wasn't he seen as it's just a normal American citizen when you started reviewing him and treated like a normal American citizen, and you stayed in the fucking between the guardrails that are given to you? Then you would have the correct answer. Maybe Brian walked or jogged. Maybe Brian did transfer cars. In other words, we'll never know what really happened that night now because of these idiot fucking cops.
Yeah.
Never.
They were propagated from the beginning. Like you said, painting that picture of the criminal mastermind. That's not even. That's not real. Like,
well, who's the criminal mastermind when you got 4 fucking male DNA samples in a home and you only chase the most microscopic one that can't be matched to anything until the FBI plays? They rub their balls with it and the fucking genie comes out and says, "Go burger." I mean, what the fuck is that all about, bro? Oh, I just told some that fucking Grant said Andrea Burkhardt is great. Her moderator fucked me. I go, in the ass. He got kicked. Yeah,
people like her, and there was one other guy that I used to follow, something that I had never thought about before.
You want to know? There's 2 people out there, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's 2 people out there that a lot of you follow, Pavarotti and Daniel, but both of them, I have a completely different opinion on what they came onto YouTube with. Pavarotti had fucking Koberger guilty, and that drunk turkey had him innocent. And then the drunk turkey got humiliated by the mainstream media, and now he's got Koberger fucking guilty. And Pavarotti, when he realized there were so many people that thought he was innocent, changed his fucking tune from guilty to innocent. A lot of people, see, those little details are things that I pay attention to because they tell you a lot about a person. You can't influence me to change my opinion on the process they used on Koberger. As a matter of fact, I've argued it for more than 2 years, and it's being proven in a court of law right in front of everybody's nose. Every issue I had with that document is the exact same issue his defense attorney's doing it, and not because she listens to me, but because based on the way the law and the Constitution is written, you have guardrails that you cannot fucking break out of, cops. You're not judge, jury, and executioner. And the judges themselves are violating the constitutional rights themselves by allowing some of this stuff to come through. A lot of that stuff in that one case with Karen Reed, that should never have been admitted. Same thing with that Allen guy, and the same thing here with Koberger. Let's see if Judge Hippler is really a judge or if he's just part of the fucking corrupt system that everybody working in it doesn't even know it's corrupt. They're convinced, they believe what they're doing is the right thing. I'm not saying that these guys framed them because they're nefarious and they're trying to cover up like everybody's trying to say. I want people to consider the fact that what they're doing is what they were trained to do by the people that came before them. And that's when they say systematic racism exists in our institutions. This is an example of systematic corruption that's been handed down from generation to generation that needs to stop. Judges are there to protect you from the government. That's his only fucking job. His job is to ensure that everything the government alleges was prepared properly and within the limits of the Constitution, or the case needs to be stopped, or that piece of evidence needs to be thrown in the trash. That's what a judge is for. He's not there to say you're guilty or innocent. He's there to stop an outrageous argument from a defense attorney that has nothing to do with the case in front of his bench. He's there as a mediator, right? But his job is to protect the citizen. A lot of people don't see judges that way because you've been trained not to. You think the judge is another person you have to fight against. And judges have become that because that's what we've been shown. That's the way they've behaved, and we've accepted that system. And that is not the American jurisprudence is not supposed to be this way. That judge is supposed to be protecting Koberger. That judge should have protected Allen. Look what that guy went through.
See, that one, that is the new one. You're watching Andrea. She looked when answering questions from people. strictly thinking legally, like by the law. Well, the tough thing about this is state law, or like the judges is like the referee judging whether that's law or not. But in some of these cases, I think that they get stuck in like a policy. Like, well, gosh, now we've screwed this up so much. We've had this on for so many years. We just gotta push it forward like he's the guy because otherwise we look stupid. So they're trying self-preservation, you know.
I honestly think it's an accurate depiction that these folks are doing what they're doing because that's what they've been shown, and they believe that what they're doing is the right way to do it. They don't, and that's the problem. Police, they don't self-report on each other. They don't self-police themselves. And the same thing with the judges themselves. There's the bar, but the bar is full of other lawyers. It's a circle jerk. The system has been contaminated a long time. This goes for politics and our judicial system. So, you know, same thing with kids. They see their kid fucking stick something, their dad steal. They think that's okay. So, and this is how everything has become corrupt slowly over time. Like, oh, you can indict a ham sandwich. And I say, no, you can't. Not when you do exactly what you're supposed to do in front of a grand jury, and that's to present all the evidence. And then the jury is supposed to read. Go ahead.
It depends on if the ham sandwich has mayonnaise or not. If it has mayonnaise, it might.
Right, but we as citizens have accepted the system the way it is. I bet you've never heard that before. The judge is there to protect you from the government. Nobody's a judge that way, but that's in fact what his main job is, to make sure that the limits placed on government by the Constitution are not fucking infringed. You have your right, your Fourth Amendment right, your Sixth Amendment right, your First Amendment right. These are not rights. Let me take that word out, because you hear that word so much that even I say it. It's not a right. You were born free, and we want a government, but guess what, government? These are the fucking things that you can't cross. You cannot enter my home without a warrant, without probable cause, right?
That's the most important part about the Bill of Rights, is that it tells the government what it can't do.
Right. It's not giving permission to do it. Right. I don't have permission for free speech. Yes, I'm born with it. It comes automatically as minute my life comes, the bulb goes on. I'm a free man, and these are the things that free men you must respect. Yeah.
Also, what the Constitution, at least the Bill of Rights, is what tells the government what it can and can't do.
The Constitution tells the government what it can and can't do as well.
That's what I mean. Yeah, you gotta be reminded that, and the way that I try to look at things is, what I wouldn't want, you know, if they could do it to him, they could do it to you. They could do it to me.
Say that, Sergeant, you have to be a special kind of stupid to do what they've done with the FBI running around and sharing office space with it. To be very honest with you, P. Fox, I'm not so sure that this investigation we keep being told was about Kohberger stalking. I'm not so sure that the investigations that we've been kept hidden from when it comes to the FBI, I'm not so sure the fact that they showed Kohberger couldn't be the stalker wasn't because they were looking at those alleging that. I don't know this. I don't have any fact to support this, but based on my experience with law enforcement, and I was, from RICO case to the crimes you all know I've committed and my experiences with them, it seems to me that the case prior to this one in 2021 with that doctor, or 2020 that happened, the same set of circumstances is repeating itself in the Kohberger case. And the FBI, the guidelines were clear. You cannot use the identity of the person we give you. You give us the sample, we're going to get it. If we can, we're going to get a name and give it to you, but you cannot arrest and charge them or use this in court as evidence against the person. That's the way it's supposed to. That's the way that works. And then Idaho did it anyway. And then Idaho lied to the court 2 to 3 times that the IGG was not how they identified Kohberger. And Ann's been saying for 2 years, how did they get to my client? How did they get to my client? You see? And that's what she's trying.
Well,
go ahead.
It's the bushy eyebrows, obviously.
Well, that's what they're trying to argue. But the kids' eyebrows aren't bushy.
I know.
They're thick, but they're proportionate.
Long bottle of
they're proportionate to his build and his hair and everything. I mean, come on, he's probably got hair on his back. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me, right? I mean, that's what you got to, you need to ask Dylan that. Did the man running away, was he covered in hair? Did he look like Kohlberg? Did he look like the eyebrows on his fucking forehead were played out on his back? I mean, what did you see on him? Right? Holy fuck. And I think the footprint by Dylan's room is from coming out of the room, not walking past it. And I also think the footprint coming out of a room is a shoe size that's inconsistent with Kohlberger's and more consistent with somebody that's probably 5'5", like the fucking guy they never caught in 2021 that broke into a house, a sorority type house, right? I bet you the size of that footprint is consistent with the guy they couldn't catch in 21. And in 22, he came and did this. That's what I would have done. I would have narrowed my investigation down to people within the area. And look, if these women had Instagram, I have no negative thing to say about that. If they had OnlyFans or whatever the fuck they had, okay. But I suspect that if you checked and if you could find all the local users that connected to them through that service, you would have a pool of suspects, right?
When they said, when his phone's connected to the tower, the services to the tower, I would have said, and so does half the town. Why don't you have half the town in here too?
What are that guy Saeed? That one girl that Huda of London's accusing Saeed as being the guy that did it. He's got bushy eyebrows. Oh man, so many people have been accused of committing this crime, including Kohlberger, and then everybody that's making the accusations against everybody else is doing to them exactly what happened to Kohlberger. Making up fucking stories and connecting dots that don't connect correctly unless you believe it. Sick bastards.
Well, and if you think about it, human nature doesn't change. If you go way back to, I want to say it was Galileo, and when the church ran everything, and he's like, wait a minute, the earth isn't just in there for you. Right. And take that shit back, or he had to be put to death. You can't think that way.
We've been turned into the Salem witch people. All these people on the internet that are fighting for innocent or guilt are the Salem witchers. The proof. They'll only accept the proof if it favors their belief, innocent or guilt. You see? Just like the Salem witch hunters did. So the same thing you're saying with Galileo. The church said there used to be a time in history where you couldn't read or write. And everything that happened in your community was either by an act of God or an act of Satan. That there were evil people amongst us. You didn't have the ability to read. You weren't allowed to be taught to read. And it wasn't until the Martin Luther era where Martin Luther presented those documents, those books for people to read and started teaching people to read them. And he was then devastated, wasn't he? So, and we live in this, nothing's really changed. Man hasn't learned an inch from his own history. And the internet is a proof of that.
The founding of our country is so important. We came here, get away from that.
That's, you know something? That's exactly why you have indictments. An indictment is supposed to be presented to a jury of 6, 12, or 18. And that jury's observation is supposed to be consistent with if they were on a jury trying this person. It's not supposed to be anything short of that. Hang on, we got a call here. Unknown incoming call. Unknown caller? No, I'm not going to take an unknown caller. Sorry about that. You still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, we're no better today than we were in the 1600s when you get on the internet and listen to these fucking dickheads out here, right? They got all these things solved and all these things figured out, and none of it can be fucking proven. Just like the Brian Kohlberger's fucking accusation, none of it can be proven. But let's go fucking attack the frats. Let's attack anybody or everybody, and blame everybody until finally we realize, oh look, we got it right. Yeah, well, you fucking ruined the lives of about 600 people till you figured it out. It's like, what the fuck, bro?
And people got to remember that when you're doing that to them, what happens when they turn on you? And now you're the one being accused.
How about if it happens even worse to one of your kids? Or imagine if something horrible like this happens to one of your loved ones, and you got all these jackasses on the internet telling all these fucking stories.
I can't even imagine that would be rough. That's the thing. I try to at least give people. That's the thing. I don't even judge you. No one's perfect, and like we're all just trying to survive and get along with each other. And so how about we think rationally and not
but some of the conclusions they're sometimes, and that's the worst part, is if some of these conspiracy theorists, if any part of this crime was predicted early by them and it's right, then they act like they were doing the right thing. See, no, motherfucker. Yeah.
No, and there's in the past there were I don't want to name his name because it's not his fault. So when somebody becomes on the radio every single day, or on YouTube every single day, if you watch them long enough and you recognize that one day they say it's like, let's say it's a situation where it's going to go one way or the other, right? One day he's saying, I'm telling you this is going to happen. Then like a week later, he's like, I mark my words, this is going to happen. It's the opposite, right? And then like a month down the road, when whatever happens, he goes back and plays the audio clip up where he said, it's like, I think this is like, yeah, but you don't know the part where you predict the other side too.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't do that.
And that's why the only part we should concern ourselves with as citizens is proof. And if that were the history of the country, you wouldn't have had the Salem witch trials. You would have demanded unquestionable proof, not statements of I saw her do this, I saw her do. Man, shut the fuck up with you saw. I don't want to hear that. Show proof that this woman's a witch. Unimpeachable proof. Otherwise, don't say. I mean, they burned people alive. Now they're going to shoot Koberger in the head. I guess that's close enough.
Well, we can determine if she's a witch if we shove her head underwater long enough. If she drowns, she's not a witch.
Right. If she doesn't float while hanging on to this 1,400-pound rock, then she's a witch. And I'm going to boot you out of here or have you step down. So see if that unknown wants to call back.
Absolutely good. I appreciate the time.
No, that was fun. I appreciate it.
Okay, I'll be back.
All right, cool. All right, unknown caller. Two things. One, I can't really put two callers on at once to my knowledge, so I didn't want to try. But I normally don't take, but I'll take an unknown call. So if you're in the chat room, unknown caller, give it a whirl. I'll be on for, whatever it takes if you show up, but I'll be on for another roughly 5 minutes, hoping you call. Yeah, he must be guilty. They kept him in jail for 2 years. He's safer in jail than he is out in the public, and so is his family. Can you imagine the hell on earth that would be chasing him and his family around? He'd have to hide somewhere. I mean, he'd probably, if he could hide efficiently, he would definitely be better off. But on a quadruple homicide, you're not going to get bail. Yeah, and that's because people are just like they were in the Salem witch hunt days. All these internet people telling you all these fucking stories, showing you information that looks like it fits. It might even fit, but it isn't part of the legal proceeding against Brian Koberger. So why do it? Why? I don't know why you would do it. I think he is safer in jail. Unknown caller, are you still available, or did you take a slight and jump out of the fucking chat room? 585-454-9932. I'll wait a few more minutes for the call. If the caller doesn't show up, then we're gonna skedaddle. Trying to think of what I had some nice ham and mashed taters and corn today. It was pretty damn nice. I got some pork chops out of the freezer. Center cut pork chops are about 1.5 inches thick. I'm gonna cook them up in some old spaghetti sauce and some spices and put them in with my spaghetti. That's what my daughter said when she loves spaghetti, but she would call it spaghetti. And so I forever have called my spaghetti spaghetti because it's one of those cute things young people say that it's just like, huh, okay, that word fits. That's crazy. Yeah, his weight loss. I did notice that. I agree. That is very concerning. It's just the mental anguish that he's enduring. I don't know, man. You'd have to fill my cell up with books. I'd have to have a steady supply of books. And believe me when I tell you, I don't care if it's a 350 to 400 page book. I can read that in under a day and understand what I just read. I can't even tell you how many. I was teaching guys that had committed murder, pimps, drug dealers. I was teaching them in jail how to read. I was the assistant teacher there for the cell block I was on, because there was obviously a paid teacher that would come in to teach people. I was teaching guys to read that they didn't read. They were in their 40s and they still didn't know how to read. And it wasn't because they were stupid. Yeah. Yeah, I've been watching Unsolved Mysteries with that Robert Stack is his name. That's a kind of a cool show. And there's like 600 of them. And I read books, and I do a lot of research on the internet for different topics that are unrelated to true crime. And I keep Robert Stack on in the background. I don't do it here, obviously, because it would feed through the microphone. Yeah, I hope he isn't feeling that. Yeah, that ran for many, 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 many years. Robert Stack and Unsolved Mysteries. That's what it was, right? That's a good show. What the hell? Ugh. And it's mixed. It's not just crime. It's not just murder. So. Yeah, he needs to go somewhere, man. It's an insane tragedy of jurisprudence. Yeah, I don't know if you know, but there's a lot of those shows. That thing was on every week for years. That show ran a long time. And I like when they find, like, I'm a person that didn't know who his parents were. And I found out eventually, but you see cases like that, lost loves, for whatever reason, and then you see murders and you see different crimes. So it's a big mix of stuff that has police work involved in it. It's very cool. I watch it on something called Horror Pictures. I got a streaming service, and it's on this thing called Horror Pictures. And you can go down to titles. Yeah, the Believe It or Not show was nice too. But I just kind of like this Unsolved Mysteries. And they do solve a lot of them, which is when it's really nice. They find the killer, or they find the lost loved one, or the parent, or the children that you adopted out. Or it's kind of cool because it's not just, one murder after another or anything like that. But all right, folks, I gave the unknown caller a second chance, only because one of you in the chat room said it might be fun to let the unknown caller in. So that was why I hung out these extra few minutes. I'm scared to open the Fauci book. You read it and let us know what it says there, P. Fox. Right? I mean, why not? Let me see here. Banners. Get rid of the banners. Go back to the chat. Yeah. It is getting late. So listen, folks, this has been great. I appreciate it. It's 1:00 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. Over here in Beijing from the top of Cock Tower, we're not allowed to have watches and tell time in China because we work when we're told to work over here. Anyway, it was good having Cletus on. Thanks for the callers, whatever it was. And I appreciate it, folks. We'll talk with you again. And until then, stay out of trouble or not. If you don't stay out of trouble, just don't get caught. They were going to tell me about my extended car warranty. That's an unrelenting onslaught of the most annoying telemarketing ever was. Holy fuck. I get it from the car dealer. Unbelievable. All right, folks. Good night. Have a good one. We'll talk with you again.